Chapter 864. Yi Qinghan was halfway there when he heard the wind Thearka's voice transmission, causing him to be startled awake. This was not the floating continent. He hurriedly kept the slaughter god blade and replaced it with a soft sword. He did not stop and directly rushed into the courtyard. The courtyard was very small, so only about 10 people could stand in it. At this moment, there were 7 or 8 people standing in the courtyard. They were all dressed in red battle armor, and their bodies glowed with divine power. Yi Qinghan did not look at them. Instead, he locked his gaze on the 3 people at the door of the small hall in front of him. One of them was dressed in black battle armor. His body was skinny, and his old, rigid face was filled with anger. Another was dressed in a white robe. His beauty was still as gentle as water. The last one looked like a 14 or 15-year-old youth. He was dressed in a white robe, and his appearance was unusually handsome. However, his body was a little skinny. His eyes were currently locked onto Yi Qinghan, who had just rushed in. Yi Qinghan and that youth looked at each other. Their bodies trembled at the same time, and their eyes lit up. Yi Qinghan immediately recognized that this youth was Yi Sahan. They looked too alike, just a little more handsome. Yi Sahan had seen pictures of Yi Qinghan since she was young. Although Yi Qinghan's appearance had matured a little, it had not changed much. How could she not recognize him? Time seemed to stop at this moment. Everyone around them seemed to have disappeared. All that was left was this father and son pair that they had met for the first time in decades. A few drops of tears appeared in Yi Qinghan's eyes. He felt an indescribable sourness in his heart. Meanwhile, Yi Sahan's body began to tremble, and a trace of hatred appeared in her eyes. Yi Qinghan could clearly see the hatred in her eyes. Little Han? Yi Tianlong's body also began to tremble slightly. His lips trembled a few times before he finally called out. Yu Shishui's beautiful eyes also lit up, and she began to look outside the door. Where did this little gawking come from? Get out! A sudden voice rang out, ruining the atmosphere in the courtyard. Yi Qinghan felt a sense of danger in his heart. His eyes swept to the left, and he saw a martial artist in red armor attacking his head with divine power in his hand. Yi Qinghan didn't move. He just coldly snorted and quickly sent a message to Yi Tianlong. He didn't ask anything, just the identity of these people. Xiao! The Wind Emperor rushed over, but without Yi Qinghan's orders, he could only receive the red-armored martial artist's attack with one hand. Bang! An explosion rang out. The Wind Emperor was completely unscathed, but the attacking martial artist bounced back. Xiao! Tian Chun had also arrived with his men. There were only 5 or 6 of them, but each of them was a peak rank 6. In an instant, they surrounded the 7 or 8 people in the field. Sahan! The courtyard could no longer hold so many people. Yi Qingwu and the others flew into the courtyard. When they saw Yi Sahan in the main hall, they ignored everything else and flew into the main hall. Yu Qingcheng, Yi Qingyu, and Yi Yaorao also followed. Even though there were 7 or 8 red-armored martial artists, their leader was only a 6th rank 6, so they naturally didn't dare to move. Mother, aunts, Yi Sahan didn't dare to recognize Yi Qinghan, but when she saw Yi Qingwu and the others, she could no longer suppress the emotions in her heart. She directly knelt before them, but she still suppressed her emotions and didn't allow herself to cry. When Yu Qingcheng and Yu Shishui saw each other, their faces were also filled with tears. Yi Tianlong's eyes were already brimming with tears, but he still looked outside worriedly. The red-armored martial artists realized that something was wrong. There weren't many people in this group, but the light in their eyes made it seem as if they were dead people. The war god was a little anxious. He quickly sent a message, then said to the Wind Emperor, "Who are you? We are from the Flying Snow Island. You dare to attack us? Our young master is in the city. Are you tired of living?" Yi Qinghan and Yi Tianlong didn't receive any useful information through the transmission. They only said that these people had suddenly barged in and ridiculed Yi Sahan, telling her to withdraw from the betrothal contest, or else she wouldn't even know how she died. When Yi Qinghan heard this, he was infuriated. The hatred in Yi Sahan's eyes was very obvious, and it deeply touched him. When he heard this person's clamor, he became even more enraged. He waved his hand and angrily said to the Wind Emperor, "Take them all down." Buzz. When the Wind Emperor saw that Yi Qinghan and Yi Tianlong had communicated for a while, he thought that Yi Qinghan had figured out the situation, so he didn't hold back. He opened his god's domain, and his power pressed down. At the same time, the 6 grade 6 war gods also pressed down. Their figures flickered a few times, and a few of the 7 or 8 red-clothed experts were instantly sent flying. The war god could only last a few rounds under the Wind Emperor's suppression before his divine crystal was sealed away by the Wind Emperor. "Throw them all outside. Tianchun, send some people to keep an eye on them. You guys stand guard outside." "Wind Emperor, coming with me?" Yi Qinghan calmly waved his hand. Today, he had acted very domineeringly and arrogantly, as if he wanted to show off in front of his son. "Yes, City Lord." Tianchun and the others gave a low roar, then decisively carried a few people out. The sudden reversal of the situation outside stunned Yi Tianlong and Yu Shishui. Even Yi Sahan turned to stare at Yi Qinghan in astonishment. When Tianchun and the others respectfully called out, "City Lord," the 3 of them were even more shocked. They stared at Yi Qinghan, who was striding in a daze. Grandson Yi Qinghan pays his respects to grandfather and senior Shishui. Yi Qinghan bowed to Yi Tianlong and Yu Shishui, then turned to look at the skinny youth in front of him. To his surprise, Yi Sahan turned her head to the side. It was obvious that she didn't like Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment. He didn't get angry. Instead, he said in a low voice, "My name is Yi Qinghan. I'm your old man, your father. Perhaps you don't want to acknowledge me as your father, but what cannot be changed is that we share the same blood. What happened all those years ago? Don't blame your mother and aunt for being vicious. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being useless. Today I have come with my sincerity. I want to acknowledge you as my son. I can satisfy any request you have, as long as I can do it." Yi Sahan didn't say anything, nor did she turn around. Her body trembled even more violently, but she still didn't cry. Yi Qinghan felt a wave of helplessness. He knew that anyone would find it hard to accept the sudden appearance of a father. "Wah!" Yi Qinghan was silent. He wondered why the people of the Flying Snow Island had come to threaten Yi Sahan. Didn't Lord Devour say that he had sent people to protect them? Just as he was about to ask Yi Tianlong about the situation, the sound of something flying came from outside. Then, Tianqin's transmission arrived. Many warriors had arrived, led by 7th grade war gods. "Stay inside and don't come out." Yi Qinghan's expression darkened. With a wave of his hand, a large golden door appeared in the hall. Instantly, several 6th grade war gods emerged to guard the hall. Only then did Yi Qinghan walk out with the Wind Emperor. Whoosh! Tonight, the southern district was bustling with activity. Countless barriers were activated, and countless warriors flew out, sending their divine senses in this direction. In the distance, 3 groups of people were flying in this direction at high speed. Their auras were overwhelming, and the entire southern district was alarmed. Chapter 865. Bring them along. Tianchun, you go into the sky. Since they were here to help his son find a husband, Yi Qinghan did not intend to keep a low profile. He ordered Tianchun to bring his men into the sky. Tianchun then escorted the warriors in red armor into the sky. The Wind Emperor and Yi Qinghan stood in the courtyard. Both of them released their divine senses and waited for the approaching troops. Yi Qinghan had seen one of the 3 groups of people before. In front of them, there were 3 mighty dragon horse chariots. Nearby, there were dozens of strong martial artists surrounding them. It was a grand display of extravagance and momentum. Yi Qinghan had seen these 3 dragon horse chariots on the Flying Snow Island. They were young Master Fei Li's chariots. The other troop was flying in the sky. They were all wearing gray armor and holding battle axes. Yi Qinghan had seen this kind of attire before. They were the guards of the Peach Blossom Island. However, this troop was flying very slowly, as if they wanted to observe for a while. The last troop was obviously Li He's group. However, Yi Qinghan immediately transmitted his voice to them, telling them not to come over and to observe from afar. Yi Qinghan did not have to worry about the guards of the Peach Blossom Island. Although he had heard that the soldiers of the Peach Blossom Venerable were greedy, they were still reasonable. As long as they were reasonable, there was nothing to be afraid of. As for greed, that was the problem with the divine stones. Chi! The 3 dragon horse chariots stopped in the sky. The warriors surrounding the chariots also lined up. They were surrounded by divine power, their expressions gloomy, and their auras condensed. 2 experts walked down from the 2 chariots next to them. From their auras, Yi Qinghan could tell that they were 7th-grade war gods. After the 2 7th-grade war gods got off the chariots, they did something strange. They knelt down on one knee toward the chariot in the middle. The dozens of experts beside them also knelt down and shouted, "Welcome, young master." The shouts of the dozens of experts instantly spread throughout the southern district. Even the entire Peach Blossom Island was startled. The cultivators in the nearby courtyards all looked at the carriage in the middle with incomparable shock and envy. Is this the young master of a super clan? Even his entrance is so grand. A beautiful white hand reached out and pulled open the bead curtain in front of the chariot. An incomparably beautiful woman walked out and knelt beside the chariot. She pulled the bead curtain and leaned her head on the front of the chariot. "Get up." Only then did a lazy voice come from within the chariot. Then, an exceptionally handsome young man dressed in luxurious clothing walked out. His eyelids were drooping, and his movements were elegant and indifferent. It was as if everything in front of him was so ordinary, and there was not the slightest bit of pretense. "Young master, please take a seat." One of the experts waved his hand, and a resplendent chair surrounded by clouds appeared in the air, giving off a rainbow-colored light, waiting for the young master to sit down. The maid on the chariot immediately stood up. She handed over a cup of fine wine and a snow-white silk handkerchief. The young cultivators below were both envious and jealous of such a luxurious lifestyle. Young Master Fei Li elegantly wiped the wine off the corner of his mouth. He did not even look around. Then he raised his eyelids slightly and glanced at Tian Chun. He said indifferently, "Tell Yi Sahan to come out and see me." Of course, young Master Fei Li knew about Yi Sahan. In fact, he was the one who gave the order tonight. He did not expect that a group of people would actually come out to help this little trash. His words were very clever. He purposely ignored the people in the air and treated Tian Chun and the others as Yi Sahan's servants. Firstly, he could drive a wedge between these people and Yi Sahan. Secondly, he could clearly suppress Yi Sahan in terms of aura. Show off? Yi Qinghan smiled coldly and transmitted his voice into the carefree pavilion. Instantly, countless experts appeared from inside. Even the 49 demonic beasts flew out. All the experts unleashed their divine power, and their aura covered the sky. The 49 demonic beasts' aura soared into the sky, and their ferocious and terrifying aura instantly enveloped the entire Peach Blossom City. Xiao! Ayo! The Wind Emperor took the lead and unleashed his aura. He brought dozens of experts and flew into the sky. Then, the 49 demonic beasts also quickly rose into the sky. All the demonic beasts roared at the same time, shaking the entire Peach Blossom City. Countless top experts in the city quickly scanned the area with their divine senses. There were even more people who flew out from their courtyards and inns. Even the Peach Blossom Venerable released his divine sense at this moment and instantly locked onto this side. Countless figures instantly soared into the sky and surged over. Sahan, go up. Don't be afraid. Remember, your status is different now. You are the son of Yi Qinghan. You are the young master of the Fire Dragon City. This young master Fei Li is nothing. If he wants to fight, just fight with him. Yi Qinghan looked indifferently at the stunned Yi Sahan and shouted in a deep voice. The arrogance in his eyes was obvious. When he saw that Yi Sahan was still somewhat afraid, his expression turned cold, and he said angrily, "Do you still want to marry the little princess of Peach Blossom City? If you have stage fright today, you will lose this opportunity forever. Go on, even if the sky breaks, I will hold it up for you." Yi Sahan looked deeply at Yi Qinghan. Then, she clenched her teeth and stomped her feet before flying out of the courtyard. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and ignored what was happening in the sky. Instead, he started to discuss the details of the marriage contest with Yi Tianlong, as well as the things they had encountered in the past few years. Greetings, young city lord. The Wind Emperor had received Yi Qinghan's voice projection long ago. When he saw Yi Sahan fly over, he immediately knelt on one knee and shouted. What shocked everyone in the city was that the 49 demonic beasts also roared at the sky and knelt down on one knee. Their huge heads were lowered heavily, and their movements were extremely orderly. It was obvious that they were welcoming Yi Sahan. At this moment, countless experts locked onto the cultivators here with their divine senses. Even the Peach Blossom Venerable in the city lord's residence was stunned. The Wind Emperor and dozens of experts were not surprised. However, the actions of the 49 demonic beasts were unbelievable. They were indeed demonic beasts. It was easy for an expert to subdue 1 or 2 demonic beasts. However, this was a total of 49 peak rank 6 demonic beasts. Furthermore, they were demonic beasts that looked exactly the same. Even if a venerable wanted to subdue a group of demonic beasts as his subordinates, where would he find so many demonic beasts of the same species and strength? This was too extravagant. Young city lord? What city's young city lord? No matter who the city lord was? However, Yi Sahan was destined to become famous in Peach Blossom City today. It was very obvious. Yi Sahan's extravagance had suppressed young Master Fei Li. Furthermore, Fei Li's subordinates addressed him as young master, but Yi Sahan addressed him as young city lord. There was a difference between young master and young city lord or young clan head. Although young Master Fei Li was doted on Feishua Island, he was the successor of the city lord. The city lord did not appear, but the young city lord's extravagance was already so grand. It was obvious that this city was not an ordinary one. Actually, Yi Sahan was also shocked by this extravagance. However, she pretended to be calm on the surface. She looked at young Master Fei Li for a long time before saying coldly, "What's the matter?" Chapter 866. Let go of my people. Young Master Fei Li's expression did not change. Even though his aura was suppressed, his aura had been nurtured since he was young. He did not lose his composure. His tone was still indifferent, but in his heart, he was secretly cursing the 18 generations of female relatives of the person who collected information on Yi Sahan. Yi Sahan was silent. Her face did not show any expression. She seemed to be thinking. Yi Qinghan looked down and sighed. He hurriedly sent a voice transmission over to give some instructions. After receiving Yi Qinghan's transmission, Yi Sahan raised her head and said coldly, "You are not going to give an explanation?" Because he was too nervous, he was stuttering. Fortunately, his expression was cold, so no one could see through his inner thoughts. "What explanation do you want?" Young Master Fei Li saw that Yi Sahan seemed to be a bit timid, so he glanced at Yi Qinghan. Then he glanced at the Peach Blossom Island's guard leader, who was standing in the distance and had yet to come over. The Peach Blossom Island's guard leader pretended not to see young Master Fei Li's gaze. With such a big commotion here, the Peach Blossom Sovereign would definitely know. He didn't dare to move, so he could only wait for the Sovereign's instructions. After being glanced at by young Master Fei Li, Yi Sahan's heart trembled. She did not know how to reply. Yi Qinghan sighed again. It seemed that this son of his had a low self-esteem and was a bit reserved. It was probably because he was not by his side that he became more introverted. He hurriedly transmitted a message. Yi Sahan then said, "Everyone, break one of your own arms." Hua! Soft murmurs came from all around, expressing the shock in everyone's hearts. Even though Yi Sahan had a bit of fame in Peach Blossom City, this fame was only because she was the Peach Blossom Venerable's in-name disciple. However, young Master Fei Li was different. He was the young master of Flying Snow Island, and his name shook the Star Sea. Now that Yi Sahan had such an attitude, wasn't this clearly humiliating young Master Fei Li? It seemed that today was going to be a lively day. At this moment, the Peach Blossom Venerable did not say anything, and the guards of Peach Blossom Manor did not move. This meant that the Peach Blossom Venerable had tacitly approved of the confrontation between the two. Young Master Flying Snow's face turned slightly red. Those who were familiar with him would know that this prince's mood was terrible. He was on the verge of exploding. Fei Li's side did not have as many people as Yi Qinghan's side, but they had two 7th-grade war gods on their side. In comparison, their strength was almost the same or even slightly stronger. His subordinates had received a secret message saying that the Peach Blossom Little Princess and Yi Sahan had been in contact before. They had even searched for treasures together and stayed together for a year and a half. Although Fei Li wasn't sure if the two of them had feelings for each other, he had to be cautious. He decisively sent out a few of his subordinates to force Yi Sahan out of Peach Blossom Island. Who would have thought that a group of experts would suddenly appear, and Yi Sahan would even become the young city lord? Yi Sahan was even more unwilling to give them face now that her people had been captured. If this went on, he would lose all his face. How were they supposed to find a husband without face? After pondering for a moment, he made his decision. He calmly raised his head and received the wine from the maidservant. He once again took a snow-white handkerchief and wiped his face. He turned to look at Yi Sahan and said, "Are you planning to start a war with my flying snow islands?" Yi Sahan became even more apprehensive. She did not dare to reply. Young Master Fei Li was very smart. He directly mentioned Flying Snow Island and Paragon Flying Snow. Start a war with paragons? Of course, Yi Sahan did not have the guts to do so. It should be known that the entire South Sea was under the influence of the 3 great paragons. Who would dare to become enemies with them? Who would dare to start a war with them? Sigh. Yi Qinghan slightly frowned. This son of his did not look foolish, but he had not seen much of the world. He was frightened by just a few words. He hurriedly transmitted a message. However, Yi Sahan was still hesitant. In the end, she clenched her teeth and said, "If you can represent Flying Snow Island, then let's start a war." Hua! This time, not only the nearby small warriors, but the entire Peach Blossom City was shocked. Young Master Fei Li naturally could not represent Paragon Flying Snow. However, since Yi Sahan said this, it was clear that the power on his side was not afraid of Paragon Flying Snow. Which city's young city lord was this? How could he be so confident? Young Master Fei Li turned silent. He did not dare to reply, but he had no choice but to start a war. He had already said this much. If he did not start a war, not only would he fail in this marriage, he would not be able to raise his head in the entire Star Sea. Xiao! Countless figures shot out from a huge restaurant in the distance. There were close to 100 people, and they were rapidly flying over. Leading the group were 2 7th-grade war gods. Not long after, they flew over and actually cupped their hands towards young Master Fei Li. After that, they silently stood behind young Master Fei Li. This group of people did not come over just now. Now that they rushed over, it was clear that they intended to participate in the war. Young Master Fei Li was not surprised by the arrival of these people. They were originally strong reinforcements that he had roped in previously. The momentum of young Master Fei Li's side completely suppressed Yi Qinghan's side. Young Master Flying Snow indifferently nodded towards the 2 experts who led the group. Only then did he turn around and stared at Yi Sahan. He revealed a mocking smile and said, "Are you sure you want to start a war? Are you comparing numbers?" Yi Qinghan indifferently smiled and transmitted a message to Li He and Yu Piao. At the same time, he waved his hand and kept everyone into the combat Imperial Palace. He then slowly flew up. Li He and Yu Piao were originally watching the show from a distance. At this moment, when they received Yi Qinghan's transmission, they immediately used their god energy and rushed over. Yu Piao and the others even unfolded their wings and directly revealed the name of the Rain Butterfly Clan. The name of the Rain Butterfly Clan had indeed shocked everyone. The king of the Rain Butterfly Clan was a famous paragon in the deity world. His speed was definitely one of the top amongst paragons. And for Li He to fly in front of Yu Piao, it also let everyone know that he was also a subordinate of a paragon. Otherwise, he would not be qualified to fly together with Yu Piao. let alone in front. Greetings, City Master. The moment Yi Qinghan appeared, Wind Emperor immediately led his people to bow and pay their respects. Their attitude was incomparably respectful. Li He and Yu Piapiao flew over and cupped their hands in greeting too. Instantly, everyone's attention shifted to Yi Qinghan. Big brother Yi, just this good-for-nothing young master wants to start a war with you? Slap him to death. Linger had a pair of 5-colored wings behind her back. She intimately flew towards Yi Qinghan and shouted loudly. It was as if she wished for the world to be in chaos. Li Shuai and Little Fireworks also had a fearless look, as if they were hoping to watch a good show. The appearance of Li Shuai, Linger, and Little Fireworks had brightened the eyes of the nearby warriors. That is the little princess of the Rain Butterfly clan. That one in white is the little princess of the Li clan. That one with horns on his head is probably from the Lei clan of the Misty continent. It's going to be lively this time. He actually provoked so many big shots. This time, young Master Fei Li won't dare to make a move, right? The king of the Rain Butterfly clan has announced that if anyone dares to touch a single hair on her daughter, she will lead millions of experts of the Rain Butterfly clan to chase him to the nefarious abyss. Shuh, lower your voice. The Rain Butterfly clan is nothing. Don't you know Paragon Li Quan's temper? Back then, he only had the strength of a 7th-grade war god, but he already slaughtered everywhere in the Star Sea. The number of experts that have died in his hands is uncountable. Who is this green-robed young divine king? He is actually the city master. Could he be Yi Sahan's father? Divine King Realm Strength? He actually has so many Paragon experts as his subordinates? The city instantly became noisy. The people of the Li clan and the Rain Butterfly clan were no strangers to the Star Sea. Both sides were openly helping Yi Qinghan, which made the situation even more complicated. Who are you? The blush on young Master Fei Li's face deepened. The situation was out of his control. He was indeed a young master of the Flying Snow Island, but his status was incomparable to Linger and Li Shuai. He wasn't the only young master on the Flying Snow Island. Of course, he could tell that Yi Qinghan was the leader. Therefore, he looked at Yi Qinghan and asked, "Who am I?" "You don't have the qualifications to know." Yi Qinghan glanced at young Master Fei Li indifferently. His attitude was extremely arrogant and overbearing. He didn't leave any face for young Master Fei Li. Since he had decided to help Yi Sahan gain some face, he was naturally prepared to tear off his own face. Young Master Fei Li's face instantly turned from red to black. He raised the wine cup and was about to smash it down angrily. However, a wave of spatial fluctuations attracted his attention, causing him to stop what he was doing. It also attracted the attention of everyone else. A green figure suddenly appeared in the middle of the battlefield. Since it could teleport, it was needless to say that it was a paragon. But wasn't there only one paragon in the Peach Blossom Island? This time it was a woman. Her entire body looked very hazy, but her eyes were dazzlingly bright. She was obviously not the Peach Blossom Paragon. Who is she? You are indeed not qualified to know the name of my young master. The woman glanced at young Master Fei Li indifferently. It was just a glance, but it made the Paragon and young Master Fei Li feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Then, under countless shocked gazes, she cupped her hands towards Yi Qinghan and said respectfully, "Mo Xiaoxiao pays her respects to young Master Yi. Pays her respects to young Master Yi." Chapter 867. Mo Xiaoxiao's sudden appearance completely shocked the entire Peach Blossom City. There was no doubt that Venerables were awesome. The entire South Sea Islands were shrouded in the might of the 3 Venerables. No one dared to oppose them. However, today, another Venerable appeared, and this Venerable was someone else's subordinate? Young Master Fei Li's lips turned pale. The current situation was no longer a matter of face. Even if Yi Qinghan's men killed him today, what could his old man do? His family had a Venerable, but someone else had a Venerable as a subordinate. Without a stronger Venerable or sovereign, how could he order them around? "My Lord Mayor, young Master." My young master said that he failed to recognize Mount Tai. He will not meddle in the matter between you and young Master Fei Li again. He will come to apologize in the future. A seventh-grade war god behind young Master Fei Li suddenly spoke. This was the powerful reinforcement that young Master Fei Li had recruited. Seeing that the situation was not good, he immediately prepared to retreat. Mo Xiaoxiao did not speak. Yi Qinghan nodded indifferently, waved his hand at the seventh-grade war god, and said, "Go, tell your young master not to stand up for people with bad character. He will get himself into trouble sooner or later." The two seventh-grade war gods immediately cupped their hands in obeisance. Their expressions were extremely respectful. Then, without bidding farewell to young Master Fei Li, they flew away with their subordinates. Young Master Fei Li also wanted to leave, but he did not dare to. He knew that if he did not pay something today, he might pay with his life in the end. However, he reckoned that Yi Qinghan would not kill him, but he did not know if Yi Qinghan would save him some face. Li He and Yu Piapiao were shocked when they saw Mo Xiaoxiao. They all knew Mo Xiaoxiao, and Li He had even met her once. She was a very loyal subordinate of Lord Devour, a powerful general. Back then, Lord Devour had instructed her to do what happened in Dancing Phoenix City. However, after that incident, she went to the floating city to admit her guilt. Eventually, she was sent to the first-class baleful Een stream. Unexpectedly, she was released after only a few decades. Moreover, she had broken through to 8th grade. Yi Qinghan was not surprised by Mo Xiaoxiao's appearance, because he had received Mo Xiaoxiao's sound transmission when he was in the yard. Just send him a voice transmission and tell him to do as he pleases. However, he did not expect Mo Xiaoxiao to cause such a huge commotion, nor did he expect her to break through to the venerable realm. It seemed that Mo Xiaoxiao wanted to make the decision herself. Lord Devour had ordered her to help Yi Sahan marry the little princess to make up for Yi Sahan's suffering. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked her to stay here to protect her. Yi Qinghan didn't hold back. It was his habit all along. If he didn't want to make trouble, he would make it bigger. Therefore, he raised his hand and looked at young Master Fei Li. "Do you think you can give me an explanation now?" "Oh." Young Master Fei Li took the snow-white handkerchief from the handmaiden beside him. This time, he wasn't using it to wipe the wine stains from the corner of his mouth. Instead, he was subconsciously wiping the wine stains from his forehead. His hands were trembling slightly. Yi Qinghan's aura was strong, but when he looked at Yi Qinghan, he felt like he was looking at his old man. Just a glance from her was enough to make him feel a little breathless. "Sir, what kind of explanation do you want?" After a long while, young Master Fei Li finally controlled his emotions and opened his mouth. However, he still accidentally trembled when he spoke. "Let them go." Yi Qinghan turned his head and said to Tianchen. Tianchen waved his hand and directly threw these people over. Young Master Fei Li's subordinates immediately flew out to catch these people. When young Master Fei Li saw this, not only was he not happy, his expression became even more gloomy. "Cut off one of your arms, and this matter will end here." As expected, what young Master Fei Li was worried about happened. Yi Qinghan didn't give him any face and directly cut off his arm. If he really cut off his arm today, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in the Star Sea in the future. But what could he do? Buzz! There was another ripple in the air. When they saw who it was, young Master Fei Li's people instantly heaved a sigh of relief. The person who came was wearing a gray lace robe and looked like a middle-aged man. There was a neat long beard on his chin, and his face was gentle and refined, giving people a sense of familiarity. "Greetings, Venerable." When the Peach Blossom Guards in the distance saw this person, they immediately flew over and knelt on one knee. Many of the nearby Peach Blossom Island's residents also knelt and bowed respectfully. "The main character is here." Yi Qinghan's eyes narrowed slightly, and a faint smile appeared on his face. He had gone overboard today to lure this person out. However, he didn't go over immediately and only looked at the Peach Blossom Venerable with a faint smile. The Peach Blossom Venerable was full of smiles and didn't pay attention to young Master Fei Li. Instead, he looked at Yi Qinghan and said with a smile, "An esteemed guest has arrived." As the host, I apologize for not going out to greet you. May I know your name? Yi Qinghan was waiting for this sentence. He hurriedly cupped his hands in greeting, though he transmitted back, He, venerable is too polite. I am Yi Qinghan, the Fire Dragon City Master. This time, I have specially come for the matter of my son, Yi Sahan. I have just arrived today and wanted to immediately pay my respects to Sir Venerable. Who would have thought that there would be a small misunderstanding, and I have let this matter go. So it is City Master Yi. City Master Yi's name has spread far and wide. Currently, half of the Star Sea is discussing about the grand event of Fire Dragon City. Now that I have met City Master Yi, the rumors are not as good as meeting face to face. City Master Yi is indeed a dragon among men. How about you give me some face today and let this matter go? Paragon Flying Snow and I have a little friendship. The peach blossom venerable revealed an expression of as expected. The smile on his face became even wider. He then glanced at young Master Fei Li before transmitting over. All right. Yi Qinghan naturally took advantage of the situation and stepped down. He looked at young Master Fei Li and said, Today, I will give Paragon face, and you can go. Young Master Fei Li relaxed. He hurriedly bowed and thanked the peach blossom venerable. He did not dare to put on an ostentatious show anymore. He kept the 3 mighty chariots before rapidly flying into the distance. Yi Qinghan gave him face. Furthermore, he mentioned Peach Blossom Venerable by name. The Peach Blossom Venerable was in a good mood. He politely waved his hand towards the crowd. The few of you have come from afar. Come, let's go to my Peach Blossom little house. Today, I want to have a good drink with everyone. We are just about to pay a visit to Paragon to thank Paragon for taking care of my son these few years. Yi Qinghan lowered his stance. He was here to seek marriage, so he naturally had to give face to his in-laws. The Peach Blossom Venerable did not teleport. Instead, he just brought everyone and flew towards the back of the City Master residence. There was a huge courtyard behind the City Master residence. This courtyard was much bigger than the Dripping Water Pavilion, and the words Peach Blossom Little House were written on it. This made Yi Qinghan and the others feel uncomfortable. The interior of the Peach Blossom Little House was very luxurious. The scenery was exceptionally beautiful. There was also a super large inner lake. Rows of imposing buildings were built around the inner lake. Countless maids were walking back and forth inside. It was comparable to a flourishing large tribe. The Peach Blossom Venerable brought everyone into the largest hall in the middle. Rows of beautiful maids immediately came in and served fragrant tea and all sorts of spirit fruits and snacks. The decorations in the hall were also very luxurious. Many precious treasures were hung on the surrounding walls. The intention of showing off was very obvious. After exchanging some pleasantries, Yi Qinghan had already determined the Peach Blossom Venerable's preferences through his observations along the way. This person was indeed the same as the rumors. He loved treasures, wanted face, and liked to put on a show. Of course, Yi Qinghan did not waste any time. With a flip of his hand, he took out a jade box from his spatial ring and handed it over. He directly stated his intentions. Venerable, you have taken care of my son for so many years. This is a small token of my appreciation. Please accept it. Furthermore, I solemnly represent Fire Dragon City to request a marriage alliance with the Peach Blossom Island. My son is always like your daughter. If Venerable is willing to part with your treasure, Yi Qinghan will definitely repay you generously. Chapter 868. The moment Yi Qinghan spoke, Yi Sahan's eyes lit up. She looked at the Peach Blossom Venerable with hope, her face flushed with excitement. City Lord Yi, you are too polite. Sahan is a good child. She managed to cultivate to the divine general realm at such a young age. Furthermore, she comprehended the destruction Tao. Her future achievements are limitless. City Lord Yi, like father, like son. The Peach Blossom Venerable didn't reply. He just smiled and turned to Yi Sahan to perform. Yi Sahan became even more excited when she heard that. She thought that the matter was settled and was about to stand up to thank the Peach Blossom Venerable. Fortunately, Yi Qinghan shot her a look and stopped her impulsive actions. Yi Qinghan had heard such polite words many times, but he didn't say anything. He just smiled faintly. As he expected, the peach blossom venerable tossed something to a maidservant. The maidservant took it and immediately turned to enter the inner room. It was obvious that she saw what Yi Qinghan had given her as a greeting gift. Yi Qinghan's greeting gift wasn't expensive. It was just 10 top-notch mutated fruits. Of course, this was only to him. According to Yi Qinghan's understanding, these top-notch mutated fruits could only be found in the Sealed God Valley. The mutated fruits unearthed in the Sealed God Valley were only sold in the floating continent. They rarely spread to the Starry Sea. However, one had once been auctioned in the Starry Sea for a high price of several trillion. Yi Qinghan guessed that the Peach Blossom Venerable would definitely be shocked by his greeting gift. Indeed, after the Peach Blossom Venerable said a bunch of nonsense, his face suddenly flushed, and the smile in his eyes deepened as he looked at Yi Qinghan. However, to Yi Qinghan's disappointment, the Peach Blossom Venerable finally gave an answer after beating around the bush for a long time. Half a month later, I will hold a marriage ceremony at the Peach Blossom residence. City Lord Yi, you know that almost all the young masters of the Star Sea have come this time. If I agree to this, I will be criticized. Moreover, this is the opinion of my daughter. However, I promise to consider City Lord Ye's suggestion carefully. I also admire Lady Jia Wu very much. Yi Qinghan was not too disappointed. The Peach Blossom Venerable was a master that would not act unless it saw a rabbit, so it would definitely wait for the best offer. Since the betrothal contest was going to be so grand, it definitely wouldn't be settled with just a few words from him and a few mutant fruits. Yi Qinghan already felt very good to be able to get these words. He quickly got up and excused himself. For some reason, Yi Sahan's complexion was very bad. She stood up with heavy footsteps. This answer clearly disappointed her. Yi Qinghan shot the Wind Emperor a look, and the Wind Emperor hurriedly brought him back. This time, they didn't return to the small courtyard in the southern part of the city. Instead, they went straight to Minghua Pavilion. Yi Qinghan had Wu Shan book a large suite for them, and only then did he transport Yi Qingwu and the others out. Yi Qinghan's actions were obviously effective. Although Yi Sahan didn't really look at him, the resentment in her eyes had already faded quite a bit. Yi Qinghan and Li Hiu Piapiao sat at the side, lightly drinking wine. The girls, however, were chattering away, asking Yi Tianlong and Yu Shishue about things that had happened over the years, as well as the betrothal contest. It's useless, it's useless. The Peach Blossom Venerable will never marry Little Peach Blossom to me. The most important thing is Little Peach Blossom's opinion. If he cared about Little Peach Blossom's opinion, he wouldn't have held this betrothal contest. It's useless. Yi Sahan's words attracted Yi Qinghan's attention, and Yi Qingwu and the others stopped asking questions. They began to worry. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. Yi Qingwu hurriedly asked, Sahan, what do you mean by that? Tell us, and we'll think of something. What else can we do? Little Peach Blossom and I are clearly in love, but the Peach Blossom Venerable wants to separate us. You've given him such a valuable gift, but this is his answer. He clearly doesn't want Little Peach Blossom and I to be together. It's been 3 years. I wonder how Little Peach Blossom is doing? After Yi Sahan finished speaking, she lowered her head. No matter how Yi Qingwu asked her, she bit her lip and refused to say another word. Yi Qingwu had no choice but to look worriedly at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. He only gave Yi Tianlong a look and excused himself to Li He and Yu Piapiao. Then, the two of them walked into a small hall at the side. After entering the small hall, Yi Qinghan carefully inquired about what had happened to Yi Tianlong over these years. Yi Qinghan's brows were tightly knitted together. He sighed, but there was a faint anger in his heart. After Yi Tianlong and the other two ascended to the divine realm, they were teleported to a small tribe in the heavenly demon residence. After that, they were robbed by a group of powerful god bandits in the Star Sea's inner sea. Everyone in the tribe was captured. The 3 of them weren't strong and couldn't resist. In the end, they were sold as slaves to a treasure-hunting adventurer team in the Star Sea. There were countless myriad god caves in the Star Sea. However, many myriad god caves had all kinds of restrictions and spirit beasts. It was very dangerous. Many treasure hunting adventurer teams liked to buy low-level martial artists as slaves to search for treasures. They placed memory worms on their bodies and used the slaves' lives to exchange for valuable information. Yi Tianlong and the other two were very lucky. This was because Yi Sahan had a special battle beast, the Ghost-Eyed Beast. It wasn't a high grade, just rank 8. Furthermore, this battle beast didn't have any offensive or defensive abilities. The only special thing about it was that it had 3 eyes. The eye in the middle was very special. It could detect hidden dangers. With this ghost-eyed beast, the 3 of them narrowly escaped death many times. In the end, they even found a valuable treasure. They were released by the team leader, who was in a good mood. The 3 of them started to roam the Star Sea's inner sea and suffered a lot. The turning point of their fate was when they met the little princess of Peach Blossom Island. The little princess was called Peach Blossom. She was very beautiful, very kind, and liked to play. Maybe because of her father's influence, she loved to search for treasures. Yi Sahan relied on this strange beast to become a scout in the little princess's treasure hunting party. After the 3 of them joined the little princess's party, their lives changed a lot. The little princess's powerful guards also guaranteed their safety. The beautiful and kind Peach Blossom naturally attracted Yi Sahan's love. It was just that Yi Sahan had a dull personality and was not good at communicating. In addition to the difference in status, she didn't dare to confess. Actually, young Master Fei Li's information was not accurate. Yi Sahan and Peach Blossom didn't stay together for a year or 2, but more than 10 years. Furthermore, Yi Sahan almost died a few times for the little princess. Yi Sahan risked her life a few times and won the little princess' heart. However, when the little princess returned to Peach Blossom Island and mentioned this matter to the Peach Blossom Venerable, the Peach Blossom Venerable was furious. He directly locked up the Peach Blossom and announced that he was looking for a groom. Yi Sahan was at the Dark Knight Island next to Peach Blossom Island. He wasn't strong enough and couldn't enter Peach Blossom Island. He happily waited for Peach Blossom's news, but he didn't expect that in the end, it was the news of the Star Sea looking for a husband. Yi Sahan sat by the seaside for 10 days and 10 nights. In the end, when Yi Tianlong wasn't paying attention, she sneaked into the sea and stayed at the bottom of the sea for half a year. In the end, she brought back a pile of treasures, among which was a rare ancient scroll. After selling the treasures, Yi Sahan stubbornly went to Peach Blossom Island and used this ancient scroll to ask for a husband. She didn't expect that in the end, she would only get the status of a disciple in name and the right to participate in the looking for a husband. Today, Yi Qinghan caused such a big commotion and even gave out such a huge gift. Yi Sahan thought that she would get a definite answer, but she didn't expect that she would only get a few vague words in the end. Especially the little girl's opinion that hurt Yi Sahan's heart, which was why she lost her composure. Chapter 869. This Peach Blossom Venerable is really a bastard. How can he auction his daughter's happiness? Yi Qinghan was also vaguely angry. Logically speaking, the Peach Blossom Venerable's daughter should be treated like a treasure. Look at Venerable Li Quan. He could give away half of a prefecture for his daughter. This person's personality has really changed. He's become greedy for treasures. When one's cultivation reached the level of venerable, the origin energy was the greatest treasure. Why would he want these things? This child has suffered too much. I must succeed. I have to pay any price. If I really can't do it, I will do anything. Yi Qinghan thought to himself. His son's happiness was more important than anything. It didn't matter what treasures Yi Qinghan had to pay. If Peach Blossom Venerable was still stubborn, he could only ask Mo Xiaoxiao for help. Yi Qinghan asked Yi Tianlong to go out and comfort Yi Sahan. Yi Qinghan asked Mo Xiaoxiao to come in and discuss with her. Greetings, young master. Mo Xiaoxiao teleported in and smiled at Yi Qinghan. Lord Mo, congratulations on breaking through to Venerable. Also, I haven't had the chance to thank you for dancing Phoenix City. Yi Qinghan stood up and said sincerely. Mo Xiao Xiao still couldn't see her body clearly. Her eyes were frighteningly bright. She smiled and said, Lord Do instructed me to do this. If you want to thank someone, thank him. Yi Qinghan went straight to the point. Lord, I have a presumptuous request. If this betrothal contest fails, I would like to ask Lord Do to help me. I wonder if Lord Do can help me? Sure. Mo Xiao Xiao's answer was very straightforward. It surprised Yi Qinghan. Mo Xiao Xiao's explanation made Yi Qinghan understand. Mo Xiao Xiao smiled and said, Lord Do instructed me to do my best as long as it's young Master Sahan's matter. However, Lord Do instructed me not to help you with your own matter. Also, once young Master Sahan's matter is done, I must return to Soul Devourer Manor. Lord Do's attitude confused Yi Qinghan again. Plus, the incident at the bottom of the sea made Yi Qinghan understand some things. Lord Do doesn't seem to care about me now. But after thinking about it, Lord Do didn't care about me other than that time in Flame Dragon City. If he hadn't reached level 8, Lord Devourer would only consider him as a passerby who had a close relationship with Blackie. After discussing some details with Mo Xiao Xiao, Yi Qinghan ignored everything that was happening outside and entered the War Emperor Palace. Only after 15 days did Yi Qinghan come out. Under everyone's hopeful gazes, he didn't say much. He only looked at Yi Sahan solemnly and said, You must remember, even if you lose, don't lose your will. No matter what happens tonight, don't lose your composure and don't let others look down on you. Leave the rest to me. I promise to give you a living peach blossom. Yi Sahan didn't say anything. She just looked at Yi Qinghan with a fiery gaze and nodded heavily. The group flew out of Mingyue Court. Before they even reached the cottage, someone came out to greet them from afar. Today's marriage contest was not held in the main hall, but on the grassy field in front of the main hall. Yi Qinghan, Mo Xiao Xiao, and Yi Sahan sat at the front, and behind them were Li Shui Yin Yi Qingwu, and the others. Today's wedding was obviously not as lively as Li Shui wedding, but there were many young masters in their prime. Yi Qinghan and his group had obviously become the focus of everyone's attention. Many of them had seen what happened to young Master Fei Li half a month ago with their own eyes. Those who hadn't seen it had heard about it. Many of the young masters present were secretly showing hostility. They clearly saw Yi Sahan as a strong competitor. Of course, there were also countless people looking at Little Smoke, and the others. Their beauty was simply too outstanding. Little Smoke's looks, Er's fiery figure, Yu Qingqing's temperament, and Yi Yaorao's cold aura easily attracted countless gazes. Buzz! Peach Blossom Venerable teleported with the little princess. Yi Qinghan saw that this Peach Blossom was as beautiful as a flower. She was dressed in a green robe and looked eccentric. Her delicate aura made people want to love her. When Yi Sahan saw the Peach Blossom, she immediately became excited. She stood up and was about to rush over. Yi Qinghan quickly pulled her back. Little Peach Blossom's eyes flickered and swept across everyone's eyes. When her eyes landed on Yi Sahan's side, her body trembled slightly. However, she immediately suppressed it. She lowered her head and stood there quietly. My daughter is very active. She runs around in the sea all day. She is about the right age. Therefore, I am thinking of finding a good husband to marry. I want him to take care of her and restrain his temper. Therefore, I am taking the liberty to find a husband. If anyone can move my daughter, you can immediately become this venerable son-in-law. Peach Blossom Venerable had a smile on his face. He had a scholarly temperament and would occasionally look at the Peach Blossom. If Yi Qinghan didn't know the inside story, he would really think that Peach Blossom Venerable truly loved his daughter. Peach Blossom Venerable imitated Li Quan Venerable and reported a matchmaking event. However, it was obviously not as lively as Li Shui's coming-of-age ceremony. The young masters weren't as excited as that day. The entire matchmaking event was just like an auction in Yi Qinghan's eyes. The auction item was the little Peach Blossom Princess. Greetings to Peach Blossom Venerable. This humble one is Fire Snake Island's Fire Snake. I offer a fire spirit pearl in hopes of marrying the little princess. This humble one is sincere towards the little princess. I hope Venerable can grant my wish. Greetings to Venerable. I am 3 Islands Chow Chali. I offer 2 ancient secret manuals. I hope Island Lord can grant my wish. I met young Lady Peach Blossom on Dark Knight Island within 5 years. I was shocked. Greetings to Venerable. One by one, the young masters stood up and brought their clan's treasures to pay their respects. Peach Blossom Venerable said that if the matchmaking event was unsuccessful, all the treasures would be returned. 1 hour later, the few large tables in front of Peach Blossom Venerable were filled with treasures. The entire matchmaking event had turned into a treasure appraisal event. Peach Blossom Venerable was obviously dissatisfied. The smile on his face didn't diminish, but there was a hint of disappointment in his eyes. Peach Blossom, who was at the side, lowered her head even more and had a cold expression. Oh! Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. Although the treasures offered by these young masters weren't bad, none of them were truly precious. As long as it was a normal wedding, Yi Qinghan definitely wouldn't do anything stupid. Sahan, go up and propose. With a flip of his hand, Yi Qinghan took out an extremely large jade box and placed it on the table. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Yi Qinghan. Peach Blossom Venerable's eyes lit up when Yi Qinghan made his move. The young masters present also stared nervously at the huge jade box on the table, trying to guess what kind of treasure it was. Yi Sahan's body trembled as she looked at Yi Qinghan in disbelief. Under Yi Qinghan's encouraging gaze, she finally picked up the jade box happily and strode forward. Peach Blossom raised her head for the first time and stared at Yi Sahan. Her face was filled with hope and joy. Peach Blossom Venerable's eyes also lit up, but he was looking at the jade box in Yi Sahan's hands. Yi Sahan has come to propose. I am willing to swear to the Divine Emperor that if I am fortunate enough to marry Peach Blossom, I am willing to dote on her, love her, and dote on her for the rest of my life. I am willing to give up everything for her, including my life. Yi Sahan didn't mention what treasure she was offering. Instead, she knelt down on one knee and smiled at Peach Blossom. She actually made a Divine Emperor's oath. Her young voice rang out, shocking everyone, including Peach Blossom Venerable. Little Peach Blossom's face lit up with a brilliant smile. Her eyes sparkled with tears, creating a different kind of beauty. After making the oath, Yi Sahan raised the jade box in her hand high and stared coldly at Peach Blossom Venerable. My proposal gift is a supreme divine weapon, the Dragon Source Saber. Gasps could be heard in the surroundings. Even the Peach Blossom Venerable was in disbelief. He knew that Yi Qinghan would make a move today, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful. Even he didn't have a supreme divine weapon. The pile of treasures on the table was nothing compared to this transcendent-grade divine artifact. All the young masters' faces turned gloomy. They knew that the marriage contest today had failed. This was simply incomparable. At the same time, countless people looked at Yi Qinghan and secretly admired him. For his son's marriage, he actually took out a priceless treasure. However, was it worth it? It was worth it. Yi Qinghan looked at Peach Blossom and the smile on Yi Sahan's face. He looked at Peach Blossom Venerable's confident gaze. He laughed in his heart. To him, the happiness of his family was more important than anything else. If the War Imperial Palace could give it away, he would have given it to them. Even without this supreme divine weapon, Yi Qinghan had originally planned to take out the Slaughter God Saber. Buzz! Peach Blossom Venerable immediately opened the jade box, and a dazzling radiance shone out. A strange beast's roar could be heard, and a greenish-black battle saber flew out and was caught by Peach Blossom Venerable. Peach Blossom Venerable was excited as he laughed and looked at Yi Qinghan. City Lord Yi, your heroism is truly shocking. The atmosphere became strange. Yi Sahan walked back with an excited expression, and Peach Blossom no longer lowered his head. The young masters behind him didn't continue to present their treasures. They had already taken out their supreme divine weapons. What else was there to present? Yi Qing'an smiled at Peach Blossom Venerable and didn't pay too much attention to it. His mood was completely relaxed. It seemed like there was no more suspense this time. Swish! Just as Yi Qing'an was waiting for Peach Blossom Venerable to speak, countless war chariots flew over from the sky. These war chariots were much bigger than young Master Fei Li's. The one pulling the chariot was a strange beast that looked like a flaming lion. Its violent aura was comparable to Yi Qing'an's peak-tier rank 6 demonic beasts. Before it even flew over, everyone was alarmed. Fiery Lion War Chariot? Someone from the Supreme Island actually came? The Supreme Island has been sealed for millions of years. Someone actually came into the world? Is this the prince from the Supreme Island? Peach Blossom Venerable smile became even wider. He put the saber in his hand into the jade box and flew into the sky. He laughed and said, "I wonder which prince has arrived." Peach Blossom Venerable, please forgive me for not welcoming you earlier. 20 martial artists flew out of the war chariot. They were all 7th grade war gods, and there were even 5 peak-tier rank 7 martial artists. An extremely handsome young master wearing the war god robe flew out of the war chariot in the center. He laughed and said, "Uncle Peach Blossom Venerable, you are too kind." Li Tian risked his life to leave the island this time, just for little sister Peach Blossom. My father said that as long as we become in-laws, he will introduce you to the sovereign and help you fight for the opportunity to enter the nefarious abyss. I hope you can give my father some face and give me a chance. As soon as the young master in the war god robe finished his words, everyone present was in an uproar. The expressions on countless people's faces became extremely interesting. Peach Blossom Venerable's eyes even brightened up, and he became spirited. He even put the jade box in his hand behind his back. Is this gift very important? Yi Qing'an's expression darkened, and he transmitted his voice to Mo Xiao Xiao. Very, much more important than yours. Mo Xiao Xiao's expression also became serious. He looked at Li Tian in the sky and transmitted his voice to explain. Among the 8 sovereigns, 5 of them broke through to the 9th grade in the nefarious abyss. Yi Qing'an's expression completely darkened. He was silent for a moment, then transmitted his voice to Mo Xiao Xiao. Mother of Asterisk Kerr. Prepare to snatch her. Chapter 870. Transcendent grade artifacts were very precious. Among the treasures that Yi Qing'an knew, they were considered the best. But in the face of the huge temptation of breaking through to rank 9, they were not worth mentioning. This could be seen from the shock on the faces of many young masters and the fire in the eyes of the Peach Blossom Venerable. Rank 9. This temptation was fatal to all venerables. If breaking through from rank 7 to rank 8 was like transforming into a dragon, then breaking through from rank 8 to rank 9 was like transforming from a chicken to a phoenix. Yi Qing'an glanced at the ashen-faced Yi Sahan, then looked at the sad Peach Blossom in the distance. He was extremely angry. He looked at Mo Xiao Xiao, then started to transmit his voice to the people behind him, telling them about his plan. As a precaution, he prepared a path of no return, snatched them. When he saw the expression on the Peach Blossom's face towards Yi Sahan, he was even more certain of this plan. If there was no other way, he would take everyone into the War Imperial Palace, snatch the Peach Blossom, and let Mo Xiao Xiao teleport him away. As long as they teleported a certain distance, Yi Qing'an and Mo Xiao Xiao would both enter the War Imperial Palace. Even the Peach Blossom Venerable would not be able to do anything then. Finally, he would think of a way to slowly escape back to the ethereal continent. As long as he returned to the ethereal continent, he reckoned that the Peach Blossom Venerable and the people from the galaxy C would not have the guts to snatch people from the ethereal continent. Of course, this plan would not be carried out until the very last moment. If it was carried out, then his plan to go to Soul Emperor Island and Flaming Dragon Island would come to a halt. After all, under the fury of the Peach Blossom Venerable and the Supreme Island, it would be difficult to move an inch in the Galaxy Sea. The Peach Blossom Venerable might not be very powerful, but the Supreme Island was extremely powerful. The Island Lord of the Supreme Island had 2 identities. The first was the Star Monarch, and the second was the Pavilion Master of the War God Pavilion. Any one of these identities was enough to scare people to death. The Star Monarch was obviously a rank 9. The power of the Pavilion Master of the War God Pavilion went without saying. He was the undisputed #1 person in the entire divine realm. Although the purpose of the War God Pavilion was to exterminate demons and protect the divine realm. In the past million years, he had never heard of anyone from the Battle God Pavilion using the power of the Battle God Pavilion to suppress the powers of the divine realm. However, Yi Qinghan was very clear that what he saw on the surface was never the truth. He could tell from Supremacy Evil Moon and His Highness Li Tian. Even if the Pavilion Master of the Battle God Pavilion was a saint and impartial, who could guarantee that his subordinates would have the same sentiments? The Fire Lion War Chariot was still floating in the sky, but the Peach Blossom Venerable teleported back. His Highness Li Tian, who was wearing the War God's robe, also flew down under the protection of 27th grade War Gods. Under the respectful greetings of the young masters, he calmly sat down. His words and expression didn't have a sense of superiority, but it was this indifferent expression that clearly expressed a sense of superiority. Yi Qinghan glanced at Yi Sahan, who was lowering her head and blushing. He sent a voice transmission. "Sahan, is there anything special about peach blossoms? Why are people from the Supreme Island here?" Peach blossoms. Peach blossoms awakened the bloodline of the Water God 3 years ago. Yi Sahan looked up at Yi Qinghan and sent a voice transmission with a bitter expression. 10 clans of the ancient gods. Yi Qinghan was shocked. Another spiritual body of heaven and earth. No wonder the Supreme Island, which had been sealed for 1,000,000 years, specially sent someone to the world today. The bloodlines of the 10 clans of the ancient gods were very special. Young girls were especially precious. Little Firework had the bloodline of the Thunder God. According to Yi Qinghan's understanding, if Firework took her first time, not only would it be easier for her to break through her bottleneck, but her body would also have the opportunity to possess the power of the Thunder God. Needless to say, the might of the Thunder God's protection and the Thunder God's wrath were not needed. In the baleful Ean stream, countless people wanted to catch Firework. Yi Qinghan scanned Li Tian with his divine sense. As expected, his cultivation had already reached the peak of the Divine King realm. He probably had his eyes on Peach Blossoms, who had the bloodline of the Water God. The Peach Blossom Venerable sat at the head of the table. He didn't seem to be in high spirits. Instead, he was having a hard time choosing. It was obvious that Yi Sahan and Li Tian were giving him a headache. If he chose one, he would definitely offend the other. Furthermore, one had a treasure that he had desired for a long time, while the other had an opportunity that could allow him to break through to the 9th stage in the end. He waved his hand and started asking his subordinates to return the treasures that the young dukes had sent over. The young dukes who had their treasures returned weren't very disappointed. They didn't have any intention of resisting the Supreme Island. Instead, they looked at Yi Qinghan's side gloatingly. Relatively speaking, Yi Qinghan was an outsider. Of course, they didn't want the benefits to flow out. In the end, only Yi Qinghan's jade box was left on the table. Everyone looked at the Peach Blossom Venerable, waiting for his decision. Yi Sahan and Peach Blossom didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They looked at the Peach Blossom Venerable nervously. Sigh. After a long while, the Peach Blossom Venerable sighed softly. He then turned to look at Yi Qinghan. When the people on Yi Qinghan's side saw this, they knew it was going to be bad. As expected, the Peach Blossom Venerable picked up the jade box in his hand and said apologetically, "City Lord Yi, thank you very much for your love for my daughter. Unfortunately, we aren't fated to become in-laws. My daughter just sent me a voice transmission and told me that she has made a choice. I'm really sorry. Shameless." Yi Qinghan cursed in his heart. Whose side was Peach Blossom's heart on? Everyone present wasn't blind. They could easily tell, but this Peach Blossom Venerable was lying through his teeth. Shameless. As soon as Yi Qinghan sighed in his heart, he heard an even more sorrowful and angry roar. Yi Sahan, who was at the side, slammed the table and stood up. She pointed at the peach blossom venerable. Although her body was trembling from nervousness, her expression was unusually determined. Peach blossom venerable, do you know that you're really shameless? If you have the guts, unseal Peach Blossom's mute acupoint and let her tell everyone who she likes. If you dare to unseal it and Peach Blossom says that she doesn't like me, I, Yi Sahan, will immediately self-destruct. Do you dare? As Yi Sahan spoke, her body didn't tremble as much anymore. Her words also became more sonorous and forceful. There was a trace of mockery and a trace of madness in her eyes. Her spine also straightened at this moment like a sharp sword that pierced the heavens. Everyone was silent as they looked at Yi Sahan, who suddenly exploded. Their expressions were extremely rich. This little divine general actually dared to point at a venerable and scold him. She even dared to use her own life to force the Peach Blossom venerable. Some people didn't show it on their faces, but they were filled with admiration in their hearts. Even His Highness Li Tian, who had been calmly playing with the teacup in his hand, turned his head and looked over with interest. Peach Blossom's face was glistening with tears as she looked at Yi Sahan and shook her head continuously. The Peach Blossom venerable's expression darkened after Yi Sahan's sudden actions, but he didn't know how to reply. Good. This is my son. Yi Qinghan didn't stop her. Instead, his eyes lit up as he shouted. At the same time, he stood up and clapped his hands. Ever since he met Yi Sahan, the impression that Yi Sahan gave him was that she was weak, introverted, and had low self-esteem. This made him very disappointed, but he didn't blame her. He was very clear that Yi Sahan's personality was formed because of them. A 12-year-old youth was at the age where he needed the love of his parents, but he watched his mother leave before he resolutely went into seclusion for 8 years. It would be strange if he wasn't introverted. After drifting in the God realm for so many years without anyone to rely on and being bullied by others, it was very normal for him to feel weak and inferior. However, today, Yi Sahan's outburst completely stimulated the trace of aggressiveness in his blood. That trace of madness was the same as Yi Qinghan's bones. Yi Qinghan was very excited, and his face was brimming with pride. This was his son. He had guts. Chapter 871. Venerable One, please forgive my son's offense. However, there are some things that I have to say. Yi Qinghan patted Yi Sahan's shoulder and asked him to sit down. If this silly kid continued to be impulsive, he would really have no choice but to snatch her away. He smiled at the Peach Blossom Venerable One and said, To me, the happiness of my family is more important than anything else. I only have one transcendent artifact, and I risked my life to obtain it. Of course, it's very important to me, but I took it out without hesitation. Why? Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and ignored everyone's gazes. He only looked at the Peach Blossom Venerable One and continued. You have already reached the Venerable Realm and can look down on the entire South Sea of Stars. If you have cultivated to such a high realm, you must understand that the most important things for a martialist are the comprehension of laws and your heart. Everything else is fleeting. If you use your daughter's happiness to exchange for an elusive opportunity, even if you have the chance to break through to grade 9 in the future and stand proudly at the peak, your daughter will not acknowledge you. Everyone will think that you are a heartless person. What's the point of living then? I am considered a junior to you. Of course, I don't dare to teach you a lesson, nor do I have the right to do so. I just want to remind you that you only have one daughter. Although Yi Qinghan's words were very tactful, it was only to Yi Sahan. Countless young masters rolled their eyes. Don't dare to teach him a lesson? You are clearly teaching him a lesson. Like father, like son. The Peach Blossom Venerable One's face darkened even more. Anyone who was a venerable would not be in a good mood after being scolded and ridiculed twice in front of hundreds of young masters. Swish! At that moment, the Peach Blossom beside the Peach Blossom Venerable suddenly walked forward, and Yi Sahan, who was beside Yi Qinghan, also stood up. The two of them walked to the center of the field, held hands, and knelt before the Peach Blossom Venerable One. The Peach Blossom's face was covered in tears, while Yi Sahan's expression was firm. The two of them kowtowed continuously to the Peach Blossom, Venerable One. Peach Blossom's unusual actions caused the surroundings to be in an uproar, and Princely Tion's expression darkened slightly. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, smiled. This was what Yi Qinghan had taught Yi Sahan through telepathy. However, he did not dare to relax. His divine sense locked down the surroundings to prevent any accidents from happening. Humph! The Peach Blossom Venerable finally spoke. He snorted coldly, expressing his extreme dissatisfaction. He waved his hand and threw the jade box at Yi Qinghan. Then, he looked at Yi Qinghan coldly and said, "City Lord Yi, your gift is too precious. I don't dare to accept it. Bring the peach blossoms back, and everyone, let's call off today's marriage contest. See our guest out." The Peach Blossom Venerable's words made Yi Sahan and the Peach Blossom completely panic. Yi Sahan looked at Yi Qinghan nervously. Peach Blossom's face was pale as she glared at the Peach Blossom Venerable. Her beautiful eyes were full of resentment and anger. "Wait!" Yi Qinghan put away his saber and shouted. Then, he cupped his hands at the Peach Blossom Venerable and revealed a strange smile. "Venerable, I must marry you today. In the future, when you have thought it through, Yi Qinghan will naturally come and apologize. I'll be taking the peach blossoms away first." Buzz! As soon as Yi Qinghan finished speaking, the people behind him suddenly vanished. Then, Yi Sahan and the peach blossoms vanished as well. Just as everyone's expressions changed, Mo Xiao Xiao, who was beside Yi Qinghan, grabbed him, and the two of them vanished as well. Whoosh! Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then a riot ensued. No one had thought that Yi Qinghan would be so daring as to steal someone else's daughter in their territory. Such an action was clearly a slap to the Peach Blossom Venerable. It was also a humiliation to the experts of the Starry Sea. "You're going too far, Yi Qinghan. I swear I'm not human if I don't kill you." The Peach Blossom Venerable was completely infuriated. He released his divine sense and easily locked onto Mo Xiao Xiao, who had just teleported to the north of Peach Blossom Island. The quintessence energy in his hand flickered, and he vanished. Everyone was in an uproar, but they instantly quietened down because of Prince Li Tion's cold grunt. Prince Li Tion was obviously in a bad mood. He was about to succeed today, and he was about to break through to the God Emperor realm. He was about to taste the spiritual body of heaven and earth. But now his bride had been snatched away. How could he not be angry? He stood up and looked at the young masters present. He said coldly, "Young Master Fei Li, please send a message to your venerable and ask him to help. I Li Tion owe him a favor. Young Master Yu Buki, please send a message to your venerable. Young Master Yin, Young Master Feng." Young Master Fei Li was the fastest. He immediately took out his message token and sent a message. Yi Qinghan and his son had humiliated him half a month ago. He was obviously excited that he could take his revenge today. The other young masters immediately came to their senses and took out their message tokens to send messages. Yi Qinghan had obviously broken the rules and slapped the faces of all the experts in the Starry Sea. Now that he had a favor from young Master Li Tion, many venerables would definitely give him face. Li Tion quickly communicated with the young masters and the people of Peach Blossom Island. Soon, he found out the identity of Yi Qinghan and his son. He pondered for a moment and took out a golden token. He shouted to everyone present, "Send out my star order. All martial artists in the Starry Sea are to hunt down Yi Qinghan and his son. Those who report their whereabouts will be captured. The Supreme Island will reward anyone who kills them." "This, Your Highness, it's not good to send out the star order. It won't be easy to explain to the Lord." A peak 7th grade war god beside Li Tion reminded him worriedly. Li Tion waved his hand and sneered, "It doesn't matter. Spread my decree. This concerns the reputation of the Xingqian Sea. Even if my father knew about it, he would agree. I'll take responsibility for everything. The ethereal sovereign and the dancing butterfly war god won't dare to cause trouble in the Starry Sea no matter how strong they are. Although the Supreme Island has been sealed for millions of years, not everyone can step on us." Li Tian spoke on behalf of the Supreme Island. All the young masters were excited. This matter wasn't a big deal, but because of what Li Tian did, it escalated to the level between the Starry Sea and the Misty Continent. As a member of the Starry Sea, they naturally hoped to cut Yi Qinghan and his son into 1,000 pieces. A young master suddenly asked, "Your Highness Li Tian, this scoundrel has a spatial divine tool. In addition, he has a supremacy with him. It will be very difficult to catch him. If they escape back to the Misty Continent, it will be troublesome." You don't understand. The space in the Starry Sea is very unstable. This also causes the parallel space in the Starry Sea to be very unstable. With the activation of the Star Order and the movement of so many martial artists, the space will become even more unstable. With so many of them, they can't stay in the spatial divine tool. It will be very easy for them to be forced out of the divine world. Send out the order. Assign a martial artist with spatial laws to every team. When searching, use spatial vibrations. The martial artists in the spatial divine tool will be forced out immediately. Li Tian revealed a cruel smile and said, "So what if they have a supremacy? In the Starry Sea, supremacies don't dare to teleport too far. Let's see how they escape back to the Misty Continent. Let's go. Let's return to our respective islands. Activate all the god bandits in the South Sea and search everywhere. Let's see where they can escape to. Let's go. How dare they snatch people in the Starry Sea? This time, they won't be able to return. There are billions of god bandits in the South Sea of the Starry Sea. Where can they escape to?" After everything was arranged, countless young masters flew out of Peach Blossom Island. At the same time, the million martial artists on Peach Blossom Island were all mobilized. Countless people flew out of Peach Blossom Island and in all directions. Chapter 872. Several million kilometers to the north of Peach Blossom Island, Paragon Peach Blossom's expression was as black as charcoal. After Mo Xiaoxiao teleported out, he immediately chased after her. However, Mo Xiaoxiao was very smart. She and Yi Qinghan immediately entered the spatial god tool to avoid being detected by his divine sense. Then they came out again and immediately teleported away. By this time, he had already lost sight of the two of them. Wang! The space by the side trembled. A white figure appeared in the air. Paragon Peach Blossom swept his divine sense before keeping the origin source energy in his hand. He looked at the white-haired old man with slight grief and indignation. "Little Peach Blossom, I've told you not to hold a marriage contest. Just marry your daughter to my grandson. Wouldn't everything be fine then? Look at this." The old man's white hair danced behind him. His face was glowing red. He looked at Paragon Peach Blossom and ridiculed him. Paragon Peach Blossom was so angry that his beard was curling up. He angrily shouted, "Old man flying snow, if you continue to make sarcastic remarks, I'll fall out with you." Paragon Flying Snow did not dare to tease him anymore. But he could not help but smile. "Haha, I'm just joking. Don't be angry. Aren't I here to help you?" Rest assured, His Highness Li Tian has already issued the Star Order. The entire South Sea has been stirred. All spatial experts have been mobilized. They can't escape. Wang! Another two ripples appeared in the air. Two paragons appeared. They were willing to do Li Tian a favor. One had to know that the evil abyss was a place that all paragons dreamed of entering. But Supreme Island had been sealed for 1,000,000 years, and they had never had a chance to do so. Now that Supreme Island had sent people over, and even gave them a huge favor, they were naturally moved. Furthermore, it was just chasing after a paragon and a few minor experts. In their eyes, this was an easy task. Paragon Flying Snow saw that everyone had arrived. He lightly coughed and said, "All right, the paragons of the South Sea are all here. Peach Blossom, don't look so black. They will definitely return to Misty Continent. The few of us will spread out a huge net and seal the entire eastern region. As long as they dare to appear, we'll immediately chase after them. As long as they are targeted by the four of us, they will definitely die." The Peach Blossom Venerable and the other two Venerable ones nodded. If Yi Qinghan escaped back to the Misty Continent, There would be nothing they could do. The only way was to kill them in the sea of stars. Plow the World received the Star Medallion, and all the martial artists were mobilized. A spatial artifact would definitely not be able to hide people. As long as they locked onto the location, even if they had escaped into the spatial artifact, as long as they guarded that space, they would be forced out sooner or later. Once they were forced out, the four of them would immediately attack, and it would be a dead end for them. What if they do not return to the Misty Continent? The Peach Blossom Venerable asked. Although he was furious, he did not lose his composure. Humph! It'll be even easier if he doesn't return. Another Venerable Lord laughed coldly and said, "The entire South Sea has been mobilized. Billions of god bandits have also been mobilized. Their images have all been sent out. If we do not return to the ethereal continent and flee in other directions, we will definitely die. Let's go." The four of them came to a consensus and decided to split up. All of them instant shifted towards the east. At the same time, they released their divine senses and started to search the surroundings. It was not just the four of them. The entire South Sea of the Star Sea was also mobilized. Countless martial artists flew out of the islands, and countless island shields opened up. Countless dragon boats sailed in all directions. At this moment, all the god bandits were no longer god bandits. Someone from the Paragon Island had entered the world and even sent out a supreme star order. At this moment, no god bandit dared to risk the wrath of His Highness Li Tian and continue to kill and rob. All of them started to search for Yi Qinghan and the others. Every team of martial artists was automatically assigned a spatial martial artist. Spatial oscillation was a fundamental, profound mystery. It was not an impressive nomological law, but at this moment, it became exceptionally important. At the same time, more than 10 venerables from the East Sea, West Sea, and Internal Sea were rushing over at full speed. Even 2 venerables from the faraway North Sea were rushing towards the South Sea. The god bandits of the East Sea and West Sea were all on the move. Firstly, it was because young Master Li Tian's bounty was sufficient. Secondly, it was because Paragon Island had sent out a star order for the first time in 1,000,000 years. This was something that the formidable martial artists of the Star Sea had to take seriously. Although the Paragon Island did not say anything, it meant that they approved of Li Tian's actions. Within a few days, the names of Yi Qinghan and his son, as well as Mo Xiaoxiao, spread throughout the entire Star Sea. Billions of god bandits and martial artists started to search for Yi Qinghan and the others in a frenzy. It was just that, after searching for more than a month, Yi Qinghan and the others seemed to have evaporated into thin air. There was no news at all. The entire South Sea of the Star Sea had been turned upside down, but there was still no news. "Kiki, brother Yi, I guess it must be very lively outside." Inside the War Emperor Palace, Li drank a cup of wine leisurely as he smiled at Yi Qinghan. Yu Piapiao, who was beside him, also grinned and said, "City Lord Yi is too daring. When I first found out about this plan, I was shocked. I thought City Lord Yi was just fooling around. I didn't expect him to really do it. Kiki, let them continue searching. We will stay here for a few years. When they are done searching, we will think of a way to return to the ethereal continent." Yi Qinghan revealed a helpless look. He had no other choice. Otherwise, he would not have dared to take such a risk. At this moment, Mo Xiaoxiao's body was no longer hazy. She revealed a beautiful figure and a beautiful face. Her eyes were the prettiest. She smiled lightly and said, "Kiki, young master, to be honest, if not for the Myriad God Cave and your War Emperor Palace, I might not have agreed to your plan. The space in the Star Sea cannot be compared to the ethereal continent." Li He and Yu Piapiao nodded. Indeed, without the magical War Emperor Palace, it would not have been so fast to snatch people. Moreover, it would have been difficult for Mo Xiaoxiao to escape the Peach Blossom Venerable's divine sense. The War Emperor Palace was very magical. As long as Yi Qinghan's divine sense moved, he could enter immediately. There were no spatial fluctuations at all. The speed was faster than teleportation. That was why he could instantly take the peach blossom and the person behind her away, in front of the peach blossom venerable. After Mo Xiao teleported away with Yi Qinghan, Yi Qinghan immediately cooperated with her. The two of them entered the War Imperial Palace and teleported away, removing the peach blossom venerable's divine sense lock on them. After that, it was simple. Under Yi Qinghan's instructions, Mo Xiao teleported to a place. This place was very ordinary. Among the countless myriad god caves in the Star Sea, Mo Xiao's destination was the myriad god cave where Yi Qinghan had obtained the transcendent grade divine weapon. There was a very strange restriction in the myriad god cave that could avoid the probing of divine senses from outside. Back then, Li He, Yu Piao, and the Wind Emperor wanted to probe the situation inside, but they could not. After Mo Xiao teleported here, she immediately spread her divine sense inside, but she could not probe either. Therefore, they entered the cave abode decisively. That's right. The space in the Star Sea was unstable. There were too many of them. After staying in the War Emperor Palace for a period of time, they would be forced out of the divine realm space due to the vibration of the parallel space. However, in this cave abode, it was fine even if they were forced out. The people outside could not probe the situation inside. Once they were forced out, they could immediately enter the War Emperor Palace. Mo Xiao's divine sense was very powerful. If anyone entered the cave abode, she would know immediately. With her ability, she could kill ordinary spies in an instant. Therefore, everyone was extremely safe here. Buzz! The space of the Combat Emperor Palace trembled again. Yi Qinghan sighed helplessly and directly brought everyone out of the Combat Emperor Palace. In the great hall of the cavern, several experts and demonic beasts were forced out by the tremors. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and finally said to Mo Xiao, Lord Mo, this is not a solution. Recently, the search has been intensifying. Do you think we can let them return to the Fire Dragon continent? Chapter 873. Fire Dragon Continent? My lord's homeland? Do you have a way to return to the Fire Dragon continent? Mo Xiao asked with a slight frown. If one wanted to return to the material plane controlled by the floating continent, they had to go through a special teleportation portal in the floating continent. Moreover, the price for each person to go back was sky high. Of course, many powerhouses had special ways to go back. Yi Qinghan opened the door of the Carefree Pavilion and sent a voice transmission to Elder Liu. He asked him to bring the soul slaves and demonic beasts to the Fire Dragon continent first, in case they were forced out by the spatial turbulence. Only then did he bring everyone back to the War Imperial Palace. He released a barrier to separate the few people's conversation before explaining, I have a spatial divine item. My lord refined 2 teleportation gates for me, and I've always placed the other gate in the Fire Dragon continent. Oh, so that's how it is. My lord learned some artifact forging from the Soul Emperor. I'm afraid apart from the other artifact forging supremacy, only my lord has this ability. Mo Xiao exclaimed in realization. Actually, Yi Qinghan had another idea. He wanted everyone to return to the Fire Dragon continent through the Carefree Pavilion and then teleport to the Ascension platform through the Purple Island. After that, they could teleport to the floating continent through the Ascension platform. If this idea worked, the crisis in front of them would be easily resolved. However, after Yi Qinghan voiced his idea, Mo Xiao pondered for a moment and shook his head. We can go back to the Fire Dragon continent, but apart from Li He and Yu Piao, none of you can teleport to the floating continent through the Ascension platform. The Ascension platform, you know that it's at the border between the 100 Battles Mansion and the Star Sea, but it's under the control of the Star Sovereign. Needless to say, there are definitely supremacies guarding it. The Ascension platform has a restriction. No one can hide in the spatial artifact. As long as they control the restriction, I won't be able to teleport. Even if Li He and the others want to go back, they must send a message to Supremacy Li Quan and the others. Otherwise, they won't be able to teleport. Li He and Yu Piao's eyes lit up. They weren't worried about their safety. As long as their names were known, no one would dare to touch them. Although they had come along with Yi Qinghan, they hadn't done anything out of line. However, since they could return easily, they were more than happy to do so. After all, the situation in the Starry Sea was too complicated. Li looked at Yi Qinghan worriedly and asked Mo Xiao, "Sir, can't you send a message to Senior Jiawu and ask her to go to the Ascension platform to receive Brother Yi?" "We can send a message, but with my understanding of Milord, she will definitely not come." Mo Xiao shook her head. Then, she turned to look at Yi Qinghan and said, "Little Han, you should know Mistress's temper very well. She won't take action in this matter. After all, it's fine for your subordinates to make a ruckus, but if someone like her makes a move, it might cause a war between the Star Sea and the floating mist continent." Yi Qinghan nodded. He didn't have much contact with Lord Devour, but he knew Lord Devour's temper. Lord Devour had sent Mo Xiao to help Yi Sahan. "According to Lord Devour, I've returned your favor. I don't owe you anything. Why should I care about your life or death?" Yi Qinghan pondered. He guessed that the spatial ring that Lord Devour had given Xiao He was strange, because that spatial ring had disappeared into Xiao He's body just like the love of the dancing butterfly. Since he couldn't guess Lord Devour's thoughts, Yi Qinghan didn't dare to gamble. He didn't want to lower himself to beg her. He knew that there were two paths in front of him. The first was to return to the Flame Dragon continent and stay there for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Once this matter was settled, he would return to the immortal realm through the Ascension platform. Or he could find a way to return to the immortal realm through the space crack. However, that would require a high cultivation level. Of course, he could also find a way to purchase a teleportation formation. The second was to let the others return to the Flame Dragon continent. He would continue to stay in the mysterious spirit cave mansion with Wind Emperor and the others. After things had calmed down a little, he would think of a way to escape. The restriction formation in this cave mansion was very strange. Divine senses couldn't detect it from the outside. Even if there were spies, Wind Emperor and the others could kill them easily. Hence, this mysterious spirit cave mansion should be safe. Yi Qinghan became silent. Bringing people back to the Flame Dragon continent might be the safest way. However, the gate of the Carefree Pavilion couldn't be kept open this time. Otherwise, if someone found out and followed them in, it would be a catastrophe for the Flame Dragon continent. If he went back, he would have to live a peaceful life for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years in the Flame Dragon continent. Most importantly, the Flame Dragon continent lacked spiritual energy. It was harder to break through in the Flame Dragon continent than to reach the sky. If it was before the battle in the Flame Dragon City, Yi Qinghan wouldn't have hesitated to return to the Flame Dragon continent and live a peaceful life. However, after experiencing so many things, Yi Qinghan understood one truth. If he wanted to live a truly happy life, he must have great strength. If he didn't want his family and clansmen to be hurt, he had to become stronger. So strong that no one dared to be his enemy. Outside the Flame Dragon City, he comprehended the heart of a powerhouse. Now that he had great strength and influence, how could he be willing to go back and live an ordinary life? How could he be willing? "Lord Mo, what do you think? What I mean is, how will you leave?" Yi Qinghan knew that Mo Xiao obeyed Lord Shi's orders. Yi Sahan's matter was almost done, and he would probably leave. Of course, it was better to ask and make a decision. "You don't have to worry about how I leave. When you are done with your arrangements, I will leave alone. It'll be hard for me to escape with you, but if I don't, as long as no one from the Supreme Island comes out, no one from the Stellar Sea can stop me. An 8th grade soul cultivator isn't someone to be trifled with." Mo Xiao's answer didn't surprise Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan looked at Li He and Yu Piao again and said, "Brother Li He, Lord Yu, how will you leave? How about you fly back from the Flame Dragon continent? That's the safest way." "All right." Li He and Yu Piao nodded. This was indeed the safest route. Li looked at Yi Qinghan and seemed to have guessed his thoughts. He hesitated for a moment before saying, "Brother Yi Qinghan, I think you should go to that plane of yours and hide for tens of thousands of years. The lifespan of a divine-level martial artist is so long. The God realm is far too dangerous." He, returning to the flame dragon plane, is indeed safe. Tens of thousands of years aren't long, but if I back down this time, I will never be able to reach my peak in this life. Tens of thousands of years is enough to wear down my spirit. At that time, Yi Qinghan will no longer be Yi Qinghan, so I can't retreat. This is my decision. Don't try to persuade me otherwise. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. He then waved his hand and retracted his god domain. Only then did he walk towards the girls. He first looked at Peach Blossom and said, "Peach Blossom, it's a little hard for you to follow Sahan like this. Moreover, there are pursuers outside. Now, I can let you and Sahan return to my material plane. It's absolutely safe there, as long as the situation here is less tense, or I return to the Misty continent. I will let you come to the God realm. Are you willing? If not, I can send you back." Chapter 874. No, I won't go back. No matter where I go, I won't go back. Peach Blossom's mental state had always been bad. After entering the Battle Emperor Palace, she had been in a trance. When she heard Yi Qinghan's words, hatred bloomed in her eyes. Tears flowed out of her eyes. While sobbing, she said, "I don't like to search for treasures, and I don't like to run around. I only did this to make my father care more about me. But I was wrong. He only has his treasures in his eyes. Only his strength and influence. Only his everything. He doesn't care about me. Sahan, take me away to that material plane. I don't want to go back to the divine world. I don't want to see the sea of stars anymore." When Peach Blossom cried, Yi Sahan panicked again. She quickly coaxed her, Okay. I don't want to stay in the divine world anymore. Let's go back to my hometown. I'll take you to every city in our continent. Don't cry, Peach Blossom. Even if your father is gone, you still have me, right?" Yi Qinghan immediately made a decision and said decisively, "Okay, Qingcheng, you all go back. Yao Rao, go back too. You all have to prepare the grandest wedding for Sahan and Peach Blossom. When the situation here is more stable, I'll let you all come over." "You're not going back?" Yu Qingcheng was the first to react. She opened her eyes wide and looked over. The rest of the girls also became nervous. Even Yi Sahan and Peach Blossom looked over in confusion. "I can go back whenever I want. Why are you all so nervous? I'm not the same as before. With 50 demonic beasts, I can even block an 8th grade venerable. Besides, isn't Lord Imo here? If you all want to come over, you can ask Elder Lu to send me a message." Yi Qinghan told a white lie, but Mo Xiao didn't expose it. Only then did the girls feel relieved and stop hesitating. However, there was a hint of loneliness in Little Firework's eyes and a complicated look in Yin Ling Er's eyes. Li Shui directly asked, "Big Brother Yi, is Xiao Hei still in seclusion? I'm leaving. Why won't you come out and see me?" Yi Qinghan immediately contacted Xiao Hei with his soul and transmitted his voice to him. Then he said apologetically, before Xiao Hei went into seclusion, he had said that he would not come out of seclusion until he transformed. Before he went into seclusion, he said that he would immediately go to Pai Quan City to propose marriage. How long will that take? Li Shui frowned slightly, making people feel sorry for her. It won't take long, at most a few thousand years. You have to believe in Darren's ability and Xiao Hei's determination. Actually, Xiao Hei likes to mess around with you, but she still cares a lot about you, Yi Qinghan said sincerely. After the arrangements were made, Yi Qinghan explained the specific arrangements to everyone in detail. Li He and Pia Piao Yu also began to send messages to their supremacies. Half an hour later, Mo Xiao checked the surroundings and found nothing out of the ordinary. Only then did Yi Qinghan lead everyone out of the Battle Emperor Palace and open the door to Carefree Pavilion, allowing everyone to enter. "Big Brother Yi, you must be well. I will wait for you in Yin Dragon City." Xiao Firework's eyes were filled with love. Even a blind person could see her feelings for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose and said with some embarrassment, "All right, Firework, you must work hard to cultivate when you get back. Yi Qinghan, don't die. You still owe me 2 things." Yinling suddenly transmitted her voice, causing Yi Qinghan to break out in cold sweat. Li Yi pulled the reluctantly Shui and Shao firework, while Pia Piao Yu brought Yin Ling Saber Emperor Yi Qingyo, and Yi Tianlong into unfettered pavilion. Finally, when Yu Qingcheng and the others entered, Yi Sahan, who was holding on a peach blossom, suddenly turned around and looked deeply into Yi Qinghan's eyes. Her lips squirmed a few times before she finally said, "Father, take care." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and smiled brightly. After a short while, only Yi Qinghan and Mo Xiaoxiao and the Wind Emperor were left in the noisy hall. Hee, now that the backup plan has been arranged, I can finally play with them. Yi Qinghan relaxed. Now that his family had been settled, he could finally let go and fight for his life. He transmitted his voice to Elder Lu in unfettered pavilion. Not long after, Tianqin led dozens of sixth-grade war gods and demonic beasts out of the portal. Yi Qinghan signaled to the Wind Emperor. The Wind Emperor immediately led dozens of soul slaves to set up a defense in the profound spirit cave abode. Of course, it was impossible for them to set up a defense. They could only act as spies and hide in every corner of the cave abode. Once a spy entered, they would immediately kill or capture him. 3 demonic beasts were left behind, and the rest of the demonic beasts were sent into the Battle Emperor Palace. Then, the unfettered pavilion was completely sealed off. Yi Qinghan then asked him Mo Xiaoxiao, "Sir, when are you leaving?" Li Yi and the others will be attending Sahan's wedding in the Flame Dragon Plane. It will take about a month in the material plane, and half a month here. I'll leave in 10 days. I'll appear in the Star Sea a little earlier than them. This way, they won't attract any attention, Mo Xiaoxiao said after pondering for a moment. This was something that they had already discussed. Yi Qinghan wasn't worried about Li Yi and the others, but he was afraid that Reverend Peach Blossom would think that they had entered the material plane. At that time, if they found out that Yi Qinghan was from the Flame Dragon Plane, and if an expert tore through space and entered the Flame Dragon Plane, it would bring a world-ending disaster to the Flame Dragon Plane. Mo Xiaoxiao happened to be leaving, so she and Yi Qinghan came up with a plan. They would take Yi Qinghan's 3 demonic beasts and appear in the Star Sea before Li Yi and the others. Moreover, these 3 demonic beasts were originally going to be sacrificed. This way, Reverend Peach Blossom wouldn't think of Li Yi and the others at all, and would continue to search the stars. Yi Qinghan and Mo Xiaoxiao stayed in the profound spirit cave abode with peace of mind. However, the Flame Dragon continent was incomparably lively. At the beginning, the entire Flame Dragon continent was frightened. When the Golden Horn God Clan descended, a few peak heavenly gods and peak divine generals had frightened the entire Flame Dragon continent. Elder Lu led a group of 6th-grade war gods and peak 6th-grade demonic beasts and stayed in the Flame Dragon continent for a while. All the divine realm warriors in the Flame Dragon continent were so scared that their legs went soft. Especially those demonic beasts. Although they had restrained their auras, the violent and terrifying pressure contained in their bodies made the people in Blue City unable to straighten their legs. Fortunately, not long after, Yi Tianlong and Yu Qingcheng came back with people. Li Yi immediately activated her divine domain and controlled the leakage of her aura, so that the ordinary people in Blue City wouldn't be scared out of their wits. The demonic beasts and soul slaves were transmitted back to the divine realm by Yi Qinghan. Coupled with the return of Yi Tianlong and the others, the warriors of the Flame Dragon continent immediately teleported to Blue City. When they heard that those powerful warriors and demonic beasts were Yi Qinghan's subordinates, the warriors of the Flame Dragon continent were completely frightened, more frightened than when the demonic beasts arrived. Then, when they heard that Yi Qinghan had built a city in the divine realm, and that the reason he came back this time was to help Yi Sahan steal the daughter of an island master in the Star Sea, they were completely dumbfounded. The entire Flame Dragon continent became lively, because Yi Qinghan had sent an order to hold the grandest wedding for Yi Sahan and Peach Blossom. Although they didn't understand why Yi Qinghan didn't want to go to the divine realm to hold the wedding, all the high-level warriors of the Flame Dragon continent began to get busy. The entire Blue City was once again expanded dozens of times, and the Yi family castle was more than 10 times bigger than before. But even so, Yi Tianlong felt that it was embarrassing. After all, Peach Blossom was the daughter of the Venerable One, and the entire Peach Blossom Island was several hundred times the size of the Flame Dragon continent. On the day of the wedding, all the emperors of the continent came, and hundreds of thousands of tables were set up in Blue City's plaza. Although it couldn't be compared to the Divine Realm, it was still unprecedented in the Flame Dragon continent. Divine Realm, Star Sea, Profound Spirit Cave Abode. Mo Xiao Xiao stored the 3 demonic beasts into his spatial artifact, then solemnly said to Yi Qinghan, "Little Han, if you don't have the confidence, don't go out. I've carefully observed this place, and it's quite secluded. After all, there are no groups of myriad god caves here, so there won't be many people searching here. If you have no other choice, go back to your continent and hide. I'm leaving, take care." Chapter 875. After several months of searching, billions of martial artists in the Star Sea finally received a shocking piece of news. They found traces of Mo Xiao Xiao on an island a million miles east of Flying Snow Island. Although Mo Xiao Xiao managed to escape in the end, he managed to capture one of Yi Qinghan's demonic beasts. Tens of billions of martial artists, god bandits, and more than 10 supremacies have been searching for months, but they had not found any news at all. Not only did this cause the martial artists in the Starry Sea to feel embarrassed, but His Highness Li Tian even smashed a few bottles of wine that were worth hundreds of millions. Supreme Island had been sealed for 1,000,000 years. This was the first time they came out into the world and even issued a Supreme Star Order. If they didn't clean up after this, it would definitely be a severe blow to the prestige of Supreme Island. Although they managed to capture a demonic beast, they still managed to regain some of their reputation. His Highness Li Tian heavily rewarded the God Bandit army that captured the demonic beast. This made the search team even more spirited, and their enthusiasm for the search grew even higher. Mo Xiao Xiao's appearance at the east of Flying Snow Island also made those supremacies even more certain that Mo Xiao Xiao, Yi Qinghan, was preparing to return to the Misty Continent. The entire western coastal area of the Misty Continent had become a forbidden land. More than 10 supremacies and billions of god bandit martial artists worked together to seal off the coastal waters of the Misty Continent. Even a seagull would find it difficult to fly into the Misty Continent. I wonder if Mo Xiao Xiao's plan succeeded? In a small hall in the mysterious spirit's cave abode, Yi Qinghan sat leisurely on a chair and flipped through a book in his hand. All of his men had shown themselves. Of course, they didn't dare to go out to scout for information. However, he was very confident in Mo Xiao Xiao. Soul cultivators had always had strange methods. How could a soul cultivator that could become a supremacy be underestimated? This Restriction Foundation study is really complicated. I have read it for half a month, and I still haven't finished reading it. What Yi Qinghan had in his hands was the Combat Emperor Palace's fundamental knowledge of restrictions. Half a month ago, Yi Qinghan suddenly had an idea about the mysterious spirit's cave abode's restriction. He wondered if there were any simple restriction methods that could escape the detection of a powerhouse's divine sense. If there were, wouldn't he be able to move freely in the Star Sea in the future? The answer was yes. After Yi Qinghan flipped through the Restriction Foundation, he found that there was indeed such a restriction. Moreover, according to the introduction of the restriction, it was very easy to set up this kind of restriction. It could be completed in an instant and could escape the detection of a venerable's divine sense. However, if there was a venerable who was a soul cultivator or a 9th-grade war god, they wouldn't be able to avoid it. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed and immediately began to learn. However, it was explained that one had to fully comprehend the Restriction Foundation study in order to set it up, and this book didn't mention it. After comprehending all the contents of this manual, the restrictions on the secret manual in the War Imperial Palace's Inner Cabinet Hall would all be unlocked, and one could read it freely. There were 6 secret manuals in the small hall. Yi Qinghan could read 2 of them now. One of them was called Soul Extermination, which was a very abnormal soul skill. Therefore, Yi Qinghan was also looking forward to the other 4 books. Right now, his cultivation was mainly focused on the strength of his soul. Comprehension of the laws was not as important. Therefore, Yi Qinghan decided to memorize all the contents of this Restriction Foundation study. Then he would enter into a state of soul stillness and cultivate his soul while comprehending the restriction. However, his two souls recorded together, but after half a month, he still couldn't memorize all the contents of this Restriction Foundation study. The soul of a God Realm warrior was very powerful, so it was very easy for them to have a photographic memory. They could even have an impression of a person they met tens of thousands of years ago. Even though Yi Qinghan's soul had reached the Divine King realm, he still didn't succeed after half a month. Using divine power to set up small spatial formations, there are 36 billion of them. Condensing, splitting, and combining various small formations with divine sense is another 53 billion. Using various tools and formation stones, there are several tens of billions of small formations. There were more than 100 billion of these small formations. And there were also mid-grade formations, high-grade formations, and finally, all kinds of restrictions. Holy shit, this is going to drive me crazy. I wonder how the War Emperor managed to comprehend all of this back in the day. Even if he comprehended it all the way without any bottlenecks, I'm afraid it would still take him tens of thousands of years, right? If there is a bottleneck here, and I can't figure it out there, I will have to comprehend for hundreds of thousands of years before I reach the great success stage of the restriction. After spending a full month, Yi Qinghan finally memorized all the contents of the Restriction Foundation study. This was because he had two souls and his soul strength had reached the Divine King realm. Otherwise, his speed would be much slower. If a heavenly deity were to memorize it, it would take at least a few thousand years to memorize it. Swish! Suddenly, there was a sonic boom outside. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes in alarm and saw the Wind Emperor carrying a Divine King realm warrior over. Yi Qinghan became slightly nervous. There was a spy heading over. Master, this person suddenly barged in. I immediately sealed the divine crystal. There shouldn't be any news leaking out. I have interrogated them. They have a team of warriors searching in the vicinity. There aren't many people. Why don't we go out and kill them all? The Wind Emperor also said, somewhat nervously. How long had it been? And someone had already found their way here. If they were exposed, everyone could only go to the Fire Dragon continent. Don't panic. Yi Qinghan waved his hand indifferently and transmitted a message to all the soul slaves to be careful and increase their vigilance. He looked at this martial artist who was trembling in fear and muttered for a moment before saying, bring him out and dismember his corpse piece by piece. Remember, you have to let him die slowly. It's best to torture 3 to 5 Moon Queen before killing him. When this Divine King saw this, he was so frightened that his knees went weak. He hurriedly knelt down and begged, my lord, spare me, spare me. I'm just a small martial artist. I don't know anything. I won't say anything. I beg my lord to spare me. I can do anything. Why should I believe you? Yi Qinghan used his soul skill suppression. Instantly, a strong aura surged from Yi Qinghan's body. Killing intent filled the entire hall. This Divine King martial artist felt as if the person in front of him had become a demon from the 9 hells. The Wind Emperor also released his aura. This made this martial artist feel that he would definitely be dismembered if something went wrong. He gritted his teeth and said, I can offer my soul spirit fire. My lord, I will become your soul slave. You don't have to worry about me betraying you. Yi Qinghan had been waiting for this sentence. He felt a little lucky and said, you aren't a god bandit? You can offer your soul spirit fire? What's your name? This Divine King explained, no, my lord. I'm a guard of Dark Night Island. My name is Sheng Tian. 2 or 3 of Yi Qinghan's subordinates had just died. He accepted this Divine King martial artist's soul spirit and then retracted his suppression. He took out a Divine Stone crystal card and a message token from his interspatial ring. He handed them to this Divine King martial artist and said, you can go back now. These Divine Stones are for you to scout for information. Remember to be discreet. If someone finds out about this, you will die immediately. Yi Qinghan waved his hand to dismiss Sheng Tian. Sheng Tian took the Divine Stone crystal card and scanned the numbers on it. He was shocked. He hurriedly got up and walked out. Master is brilliant. The Wind Emperor understood what Yi Qinghan meant. They were a team. If one of them suddenly died, the others would definitely be suspicious. When the whole team came, it would be troublesome if one of them sent a message back. Now, he could kill two birds with one stone. As expected, after that divine king martial artist Xingtian went out, no one else came in. Not long after, he actually sent a message saying that his team had completed their search and had gone to another region. Wind Emperor, you guys take turns to guard. Don't be too nervous. There are only 3 entrances. You have to remember to immediately send a message to me if there are any special circumstances. We will return to the Fire Dragon continent immediately. I want to go into seclusion for a period of time. If I can comprehend that restriction, we can leave this place. Yi Qinghan instructed. He sat cross-legged and entered the soul spirit's silent state. He started to cultivate his soul spirit and comprehend the restriction at the same time. Chapter 876. The study of warding spells is really miraculous. Just the ripples of God power, divine sense, and simple objects can be combined to form all sorts of minor spell formations. They can gather energy, increase speed, defend, attack, and even cause spatial fluctuations. All of those minor spell formations can be combined to form a grand warding spell formation, a warding spell formation, a powerful defensive spell formation, a powerful offensive spell formation, and even the power of heaven and earth to attack enemies. The ancestor who created the study of restriction is too awesome. Inside the Xianling cave abode, Yi Qinghan sat in a small hall. The surrounding heaven and earth yuan qi gathered above his head, and the entire hall was filled with cold wind. Beside him, the Wind Emperor sat quietly at the side, guarding him. Yi Qinghan had already been in seclusion for a year. There were a total of 120 billion small formations, and in this 1 year, he had comprehended and mastered them. He could set up 30 million of them with a wave of his hand. Some of these small formations were very simple. He only needed to simulate them once, and he could set them up immediately. But some were very profound. He had to ponder for dozens of days and simulate tens of thousands of times before he could master them. Most importantly, some of the small formations were only for auxiliary purposes. As there was no theoretical basis, it was difficult to understand them. What was the point of setting them up? So it was especially difficult to comprehend them. But Yi Qinghan felt very satisfied. The more he learned, the more excited he became. And many of these small formations were related to the principles of heaven and earth. Yi Qinghan believed that as long as he comprehended restriction, it would be much easier to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth in the future. In a year, he mastered 30 million small formations. Yi Qinghan was very proud. He knew that even Empress you wouldn't comprehend as fast as him. Even Mo Xiao Xiao might not be as fast as him in some small formations. He had 2 souls. One was a godly king realm soul strength. The other was a soul jade and a soul silent state. With all these things added together, his comprehension speed reached a terrifying level. While he was comprehending restriction, he also discovered something that made him very excited. The basic knowledge that he had learned in his previous life, the scientific theories that were not very useful, were playing a very important role here. This was also why he thought that Mo Xiao Xiao's comprehension speed wasn't as fast as his. For example, the people in his previous life all understood the conservation of energy and Newton's 3 laws. For example, physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. No one in this world understood these things, and no one would learn them. Although Yi Qinghan was not very proficient, he had been an orphan in his previous life, so his studies were quite steady. The knowledge provided him with great help in comprehending the art of forbidding. Some of the things that the people of this world needed to comprehend for a long time were extremely simple in his eyes. And the strength of my soul has increased a little. Continue to work hard and try to comprehend all the small formations within 3 years. By then, my soul strength will probably reach the 2nd level of Divine King Realm. At that time, I'll be able to read those 4 manuals. I wonder what kind of heaven-defying secret manual it will be. Yi Qinghan pondered for a while in his soul, then continued to meditate on the complicated process of learning the small formation. The inner sea of the Star Sea. Within the inner sea, there were not many islands. It was not like other places which were densely packed with small islands. There were only 10 islands in the inner sea, and 9 of them were as big as the Peach Blossom Island. If one looked down from an altitude of 1,000,000 miles, one would see that the 9 islands were in the shape of a long snake. They were like 9 real dragons with their heads facing inward. In the direction of these dragon heads was a super large circular island. Supreme Island. 9 dragons guarding a pearl. This was the most peculiar terrain in the entire divinity. Over the past tens of millions of years, many islands would sink and many more would emerge. However, the terrain of the inner sea of the Star Sea had never changed. This matter was very strange, very strange. However, there were many strange things in the divinity. For example, the Apotheosis Valley, which was one of the 4 forbidden lands, and the Nephis Abyss, which was one of the 4 forbidden lands. The Nephis Abyss was within Supreme Island. The Nephis Abyss was the continent's #1 forbidden land, and it was also the continent's #1 treasure land. Of course, this treasure land had always been a forbidden land before the Star Monarch was born. 10 million years ago, the Star Monarch walked out of the Nephis Abyss. At the 9th level, no one in the entire Star Sea could contend against him. According to the legends, the South Mountain Monarch and the Star Monarch had a battle, and it was said that the Star Monarch was defeated. Other than the Monarch, no one knew what was inside the Nephis Abyss. However, many people knew that after the Star Monarch, many people entered the Nephis Abyss. In the end, 4 people came out, and all of them were 9th level monarchs. Later on, they unified their respective continents. In addition to the original monarchs, there were 8 monarchs on the continent. Of course, including Lord Devourer, there were 9 monarchs now. The last monarch was a divine king who rarely showed himself. Ever since the Star Monarch ordered the islands to be sealed, no one dared to enter or leave the inner sea. Today, however, there were countless chariots flying rapidly in the low sea. The fire lions pulling the chariots seemed to be very familiar with the surrounding terrain. They skillfully avoided the spatial cracks and unstable spaces. They flew at high speed and were several times faster than the super dragon boats. The chariots did not stop at the 9 real dragon-like islands. They flew straight for Supreme Island. Supreme Island was very big, about 1/3 of the size of the ethereal continent. A super large rainbow barrier lit up on such a big island. The light of the barrier could be seen from 1,000,000 miles away. When these fire lion chariots were approaching Supreme Island, they did not continue flying toward the rainbow barrier. Instead, they flew toward the blood-red sea of stars. The fire lion chariots, which were covered in raging flames, also lit up with a fiery red barrier. After traveling hundreds of thousands of miles into the sea, the chariots entered a super large cave abode. The cave abode was also lit up with a barrier. It was obvious that ordinary people could not enter. There was nothing in the cave abode. There was only a dazzling teleportation array. The chariots stopped, and 21 people walked down. All of them were wearing war god robes. Their leader was His Highness Li Tian. "You guys wait here. I'm going back to see my father." His Highness Li Tian did not look good. His eyes were filled with helplessness and anger. He took out a token and stepped into the teleportation array. "Greetings, Your Highness." With a flash of brilliance from the transportation formation, Li Tian appeared in a majestic black city. There weren't many people on the Blackstone Plaza. There were only a few hundred guards wearing the war god's robe. However, these guards were all 6th-grade war gods. Li Tian nodded his head indifferently and flew toward a majestic mansion on the left of the plaza. Eventually, he came to a study room in the backyard of the mansion. There was someone in the study room. He was also wearing a war god robe, but his robe was embroidered with gold. His figure and appearance were strange. He was unusually fat, and his face was round. He looked like a Mithriya Buddha. "Father." Li Tian walked in and knelt down heavily. Then, he lowered his head in silence. The fatty who was sitting in the study room did not say anything. He just drank his tea calmly and looked at Li Tian with a smile. After a while, he said, "You got into trouble, and there's nothing you can do? You're back to look for me?" Chapter 877. Li Tian lifted his head to look at the chubby, middle-aged man. Although he was smiling, the fear in his eyes intensified. He said shamefully, "Father, Li Tian knows his mistake. Li Tian shouldn't have sent out the star token without permission. I shouldn't have acted out of spite for a woman and asked for punishment." The smile on the chubby, middle-aged man's face didn't diminish. He took a sip of tea and said slowly, "You still don't understand. What does the star token represent? It represents the will of the monarch. It's fine for you to act out of spite for a woman. It's fine for you to send out the star token without permission. But since you sent out the star token, you have to do it beautifully. Mo Xiao Xiao is a supremacy, but you forgot her other identity. She is a soul cultivator. Soul cultivators have the strangest methods. If I'm not wrong, she has already returned to the soul devourer manner. What did you do wrong? Your mistake was not investigating clearly before sending out the star token. Also, you've been searching for more than a year and only caught 3 demonic beasts. Don't you understand? You have fallen into their trap of luring the tiger away from the mountain. Those 3 demonic beasts were given to you as a gift. Father, what should we do? Once the star token is sent out, if there's no result, when the monarch comes out of seclusion, Li Tian's face started to turn pale. He knew very well how cold-blooded and heartless the star monarch was. Although his father was the #1 supremacy under the monarch, if the monarch was enraged, his father wouldn't be able to protect him. The chubby, middle-aged man revealed a disappointed expression, but the smile on his face deepened. He stared at Li Tian with a burning gaze. "You're so flustered over such a small matter? What else can you do in the future? The ancient saying is right. Only those who grow up from the grassroots will be formidable. Those who rely on their ancestors will never grow up. Forget it. Listen carefully. First, continue to search. Place your target in the cave abodes under the sea, especially those with restrictions. Search more. Second, take some Thunder God Roar and Teleportation Spirit Teleportation formation from the Inner Mansion and secretly send them to the Blood Knight Sea's Eternal Universe Army. I'll send a message to him and ask him to take action. As for the rest, you just have to wait for the news." When Li Tian saw that his father had finally made a move, he was incomparably invigorated. However, he was still in a daze when he heard the 2 pieces of information. He asked suspiciously, "Father, didn't you say that Mo Xiao Xiao might have returned? Why did they have to go through so much trouble to search for it? They have been searching for a year now, and many people were just trying to cope with the search. Also, why did the Eternal Universe Legion make a move? If they make a move, who are they going to make a move against? Idiot!" The obese, middle-aged man finally couldn't help but swear. He waved his hand and didn't explain. He coldly said, "Think about it yourself. Get out. Go and arrange it properly. If you can't even arrange this well, you don't need to come back." Li Tian wiped the cold sweat off his face and hurriedly got up and walked out. He didn't stay in the mansion and walked out with a gloomy expression. Finally, he was teleported to the teleportation formation at the bottom of the sea. He boarded the war chariot and flew towards the southern sea. Soul-devouring manor, City Lord's mansion rooftop. Lord Geo pushed the door open, looking at the rooftop. He was a little surprised. Besides Lord Devour, there was another person on the rooftop. It was a beautiful woman wearing a green robe. Mo Xiao Xiao. "All right, I got it. You can leave now." Lord Devour didn't turn his head or look at Mo Xiao Xiao. He just faintly waved his hand at her. Mo Xiao Xiao smiled at Lord Geo and disappeared in the air. Lord Geo hesitated for a while and couldn't help but be curious. She walked over and smiled at Lord Devour. Lord Mo is back." Lord Devour lifted his head to look at Lord Geo's charming face. He smiled and said, "Ah, Geo, can't you say something?" Lord Geo smiled embarrassedly and said, "Lord, Xiaohan and the others are back too." Lord Devour seemed to be in a good mood today. He kept smiling and answered straightforwardly, "No. Yu Qingcheng and the others have gone to the Fire Dragon continent. Yi Sahan has also gone back. Xiao Han is alone in the Star Sea. Ah! Lord Zhou's face changed, and she exclaimed, "The Star Sea is so dangerous now. How can Lord Mo leave Xiao Han alone in the Star Sea? Right now, the entire Starry Sea is chasing after him." Lord Devour smiled faintly. "I said that I won't care about his life or death." "Lord Devour, don't lie to me," Lord Zhou said hurriedly. "Last time, when Xiao Han was in danger, you stood here and watched the wandering sea for a whole night. Obviously, you were worried about him. Moreover, Xiao Han escaped easily that time. Lord Devour, you must have given him some treasures. Or, you knew that he could get out of danger." "Humph. Yi Ching Han has the power of the origin. If he can't kill a void-gouging beast, he's just a piece of trash." Lord Devour snorted and looked at the wandering sea in the distance. He sighed deeply and said, "Gio, you don't understand. Let me tell you this. If a young eagle only has his mother to protect him, he will never learn to fly. He will never be able to soar above the 9 heavens. If I keep helping Yi Ching Han will have the thought that if something happens, he will come to me to solve it. Then, he will never progress, and he will never reach the peak. That's why I chose to let him go. Either he grows up, or he dies. Although it's cruel, this world is cruel. If he can't grow up, perhaps in the end, we will all die. The people of the soul-devouring palace will die. The people of the fiery dragon city will die. The people of the fiery dragon continent will die." "What?" Lord Devour's words frightened Nine-Tailed Fox. At the same time, she was very skeptical. She asked, "Lord, are you worried about your enemy? You're a level 9 expert now. Who in this world can hurt you? Moreover, although Xiao Han's soul isn't like ours, how can you be sure that he can help you resist the enemy that you can't? First of all, I'm not a level 9 expert. Second, even a level 9 expert isn't invincible. I've told you about this. Third, I have a feeling that Yi Ching Han can do it. He's a man who can create miracles." Lord Devour's faint words had frightened Nine-Tailed Fox more and more. She was even more bewildered. Right when she was about to ask more, suddenly, she saw a cold light shoot out of Lord Devour's eyes. Then a light flashed in front of her. She found that the two of them had appeared in the teleportation formation of the soul-devouring city. She was familiar with this teleportation formation. It was the teleportation formation to the fiery dragon city. But why did Lord Devour rush to the fiery dragon city? Did something happen to the city? When the light of the teleportation formation faded away, Nine-Tailed Fox looked around. Her beautiful eyes widened, her beautiful face discolored. She couldn't believe what she had just seen. Was this the beautiful fiery dragon city? The entire fiery dragon city couldn't be considered a city anymore. It was more accurate to say that it was a pile of ruins. Tens of millions of buildings in the fiery dragon city had collapsed. Flowers, trees, and flowers were all broken. There were countless severed limbs and corpses beneath the limestone. There were also countless divine crystals and space rings floating in the air. The divine crystals gave off a multicolored light that shone on the ruins, dazzling everyone's eyes. "Harumph! Killing people and destroying the city. How dare you?" Lord Devour didn't show any emotion. He just glanced at the fiery dragon city, said coldly, and then disappeared. Chapter 878. What is going on? Lord Zhou blinked. He could not believe it. The beautiful fiery dragon city, the city that the two sovereigns had sworn to protect, was reduced to ruins just like that. Looking at the countless divine crystals in the sky, Lord Zhou did not know how many people had died. Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Millions? Because Fiery Dragon City was guarded by two sovereigns, countless families had settled here. In a short period of time, with the addition of Yi Qinghan's hundreds of thousands of subordinates, the population of the city had reached more than 1 million. But this time, almost all of them were dead. Swish! A group of people flew over from afar. There were not many of them, only about 100. Nine-Tailed Fox heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Legion was fine. The rank 7 beast was not dead, and Little Smoke was not dead either. But those who survived were all powerhouses. Needless to say, the hundreds of thousands of Yi family soldiers were all dead. City Lord Lei, what is going on? Who attacked us? Nine-tailed Fox hurried over. Seeing Lei Jun's pale face, he must have used the Thunder God's protection. Otherwise, he would not have survived. I'm not sure. After a loud noise, the city's shield was suddenly broken. Then, countless black balls were thrown over, and there was a huge explosion in the city. In addition, many people came this time. There were at least hundreds of rank 7 peak and thousands of rank 7 powerhouses. If I did not have the Thunder God's protection, we would all be dead. Lei Jun had a lingering fear in his heart, but his eyes were filled with anger. Little Firework's face was pale with fright. Feng Qi and the others were also filled with anger, but they had nowhere to vent it because they had no idea who they were attacking. Moreover, after a round of attack, these people all teleported away through the temporary teleportation formation. Their divine senses could not lock onto them. Swish! Countless teleportation formations lit up at the same time. The city was destroyed, but the teleportation formations were undamaged. With such a drastic change, of course, countless people were teleported over. Li nodded at Lord Jiao, then looked at the endless stream of city lords teleporting over. He said to Lei Jun and the others, Lord Jiao, Lady Jiao Wu sent me a message asking you to bring Lei Jun and the others to the Soul Devourer Manor. She will arrange the rest. Xiao. More and more teleportation arrays lit up. There weren't many people in each teleportation array, but most of them were prefecture masters and important figures of the various prefectures. In less than an hour, almost all 108 prefectures had sent people. Only then did Li He loudly say, pass down the sovereign's decree and Lady Jiao Wu's orders. All the experts of 6th grade War God and above in the prefecture are to gather at Longyang City and Black Star City, then march towards the Bloody Night Sea. Lord Monarch and Lord Jiao Wu said that there is another god bandit in the Blood Sea this time. There is no need for us to return. Blood Night Sea's god bandits. Lei Jun's killing intense sword. He patted Little Firework's shoulder and said to Lord Jiao, Lord Jiao, please take my daughter to Soul Devourer City. We won't be going. If I don't make the Blood Sea redder than the Starry Sea, my name won't be Lei Jun. Feng Qi looked at the remaining Flame Dragon City warriors and roared, an eye for an eye. A debt of blood must be paid with blood. All the Flame Dragon City warriors roared. This time, not just the warriors of the Misty Continent would be going. Even if they didn't go, they would kill their way into the Blood Night Sea once they found out who attacked them. Lord Jiao pulled Little Firework into the teleportation formation. What happened next was beyond her and Little Firework's control. If Lord Devourer and Misty Lord were enraged, the Blood Night Sea would not be spared. Half a day later, Longyang Prefecture's Black Star City, which was next to the Blood Night Sea, gathered tens of thousands of powerful warriors. These tens of thousands of people weren't ordinary warriors. They were all war gods above 6th grade. With such a powerful force, if they suddenly attacked any continent, they could flatten half of the continent within a few days. In just 3 days, the Blood Night Sea, which was 10 times the size of Longyang Prefecture, was wiped out by the enraged Misty Continent army. Besides a few warriors who could prove their identities, the remaining millions of god bandits were all slaughtered. However, many of the Blood Night Sea's god bandit groups disappeared mysteriously. This time, they only killed small fish. At most, half of the powerful warriors who attacked the city were killed. The rest were all gone. The Misty Continent's army knew that many of these experts had escaped to the Star Sea, and some had escaped to the Blood Night Continent, which was south of the Misty Continent. However, they didn't dare to cross the border. After sweeping the Blood Night Sea one more time, the Misty Continent ordered them to return home embarrassedly. Just let it go. On the rooftop of the soul-devouring manor, Lei Jun tried to keep his voice calm. However, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. He looked at Lord Devourer and asked. Lord Devourer said leisurely, what else do you want to do? Bring people to the Star Sea? Enter the Blood Night Continent? I can say this clearly. Lord Devour will not let all the continent's experts attack the Star Sea or the Blood Knight continent just because of this. However, if you bring hundreds of people, I guarantee that in less than half a month, all of you will be dead. Legion spat out a mouthful of turbid air. He also understood that the ethereal sovereign had done this much for him. However, he still felt angry. A moment later, he controlled his emotions and said, "Why are the Blood Knight Seas God bandits attacking Flame Dragon City? Do you know the reason, Lord? I will investigate this. Don't worry about this. I will make arrangements." Lord Devour stood up and looked at Lei Jun. "Don't bother about this. Go back and rebuild Flame Dragon City. This time, I will send people to build an array formation for you. It was my negligence last time. Even a few supremacies can't break the protective shield in a short period of time. Don't worry." Lei Jun retreated helplessly. Lord Jiu asked, "Lord, you really don't know why they attacked Flame Dragon City?" "Of course I know." Lord Devour sighed and said, "Li Kong really thinks that I don't know about the Blood Knight Seas God bandits. Are they his subordinates?" "Li Kong? Surnamed Li? Could they be from Paragon Island?" Lord Jiu was shocked. Then he immediately understood. Flame Dragon City only had a grudge with some people from the Floating Mist Continent. However, the people from the Floating Mist Continent didn't dare to take revenge. The only explanation was that they were from the Star Sea. Yi Qinghan had made them lose face. They were making use of this incident to regain their face. Or rather, to force Yi Qinghan out. Lord Devour walked forward and looked at the wandering sea. He said helplessly, "Actually, many people have guessed this. Leisha must have guessed it too. However, I can't and won't do anything. If they want to take revenge, they can only rely on Yi Qinghan and the people from Flame Dragon City. The people below can do whatever they want, but Lord Devour and I cannot do anything. Otherwise, it will be a disaster for the Floating Mist Continent. It will be a disaster for the entire divine world." Lord Jiu's face was full of anxiety. He said to Lord Devour, "What about Little Han? If he knows about this, he will definitely go crazy. If he is forced out, he will definitely die. How can he fight against the Star Sea with such a small number of people?" Lord Devour turned around and said, "We have no choice. If he can't bear it and is forced out, this is his fate." Chapter 879. The news of Yin Dragon City's destruction soon spread throughout the entire Divine Realm. A city was not important. What was important was the people guarding the city and the mastermind behind it. The people guarding the city were needless to say. Because of the establishment of Yin Dragon City, the Divine Realm had one more ninth-grade war god. It was hard not to attract attention. The Blood Knight Sea was located between the ethereal continent and the Star Sea. It was a lawless zone, and the god bandits there were very strong. But some people in the Divine Realm knew that the god bandits there actually belonged to some big shot on Paragon Island. Ever since the 8 sovereigns gathered on Paragon Island millions of years ago and established the Iron Law of the Divine Realm, there had not been any large-scale war. This incident at Yin Dragon City attracted the attention of all the major factions in the Divine Realm. They were all guessing if this incident would cause a war between the Star Sea and the ethereal continent. The ethereal continent had 2 sovereigns. This had already changed the power structure of the Divine Realm. But the Star Sovereign was recognized as the strongest person in the Divine Realm. Most importantly, the Star Sovereign had another identity, the Pavilion Master of the Battle God Pavilion. If the 2 factions started a war, it would change the power structure of the entire Divine Realm. Why didn't the powerful martial artists in the Divine Realm pay attention? But what made the major factions in the Divine Realm happy and disappointed was that the Ethereal Sovereign and the Dancing Butterfly Sovereign only sent their troops to sweep the Blood Knight Sea once, and then did nothing. The scouts from the various continents also discovered that Yin Dragon City had started to rebuild. It was said that the Ethereal Sovereign and the Dancing Butterfly Sovereign provided divine stones. Since they started to rebuild the city, it meant that the Ethereal Sovereign and the Dancing Butterfly Sovereign had swallowed their anger. Many people were guessing if the 2 sovereigns had stopped fighting on the surface and started a war in secret, But many people also felt that it was reasonable for the two sovereigns to not do anything. After all, the ones who did it were not from the Star Sea. There was no evidence. If the Misty Continent were to send out their army, it would mean that the Misty Continent was being unreasonable. If they were to incur the wrath of the Master of the Stellar Pavilion and issue a War God Pavilion Master Order, even though the war gods of the firmament might not necessarily accept the challenge. If there were only 3 of them, the Misty Continent would be in deep trouble. The martial artists and god bandits of the Star Sea, however, were all invigorated and filled with joy. Everyone in the Star Sea felt as if their faces were lit up. Look, they attacked their inner city, destroyed an entire city, and killed millions of people, but now they are completely fine. What did this mean? This meant that the people of the Misty Continent were afraid of the Star Sea. Of course, the various islands in the Star Sea were also starting to get nervous. They were afraid that the ethereal continent would play some tricks in the dark. For example, they might send people to pretend to be god bandits and slaughter 30 to 50 islands. However, 3 years had passed, and the people of the divine world were astonished to find that the Misty Continent had not taken any action. The Sea of Stars was calm, and even the number of demons descending had decreased. The Misty Continent had really endured. Supreme Island, Lee Manor. Li Tian had just returned from the Peach Blossom Island. There wasn't much of a smile on his face. Instead, it was a little gloomy. By now, he naturally understood the meaning of his father Li Kong's instructions. Li Kong's meaning was very clear. Yi Qinghan was still in the Star Sea. Destroying the Fire Dragon City was actually just to force Yi Qinghan out. Of course, it was also to force a Mo Xiao Xiao, or those related to Yi Qinghan, to come to the Star Sea for revenge. However, Yi Qinghan didn't come out. None of those related to Yi Qinghan came out. Although the Star Sea had regained some face, it wasn't completely recovered. Therefore, he still didn't look too good. This young, godly king's temper is different from what the voice transmission said. He can actually endure this? Li Kong, who was still as fat as before, had a smile on his face. As there was too much fat on his face, his eyes squinted into a line when he smiled. No one could see the coldness in his eyes. Li Tian knelt on the ground respectfully and said, "Father, there are too many myriad god caves in the Star Sea. For the past 3 years, I have sent people to search the entire South Sea. However, there should still be many places that we missed. We found dozens of cave abodes with spirit beasts, and some transcendent grade god artifacts and treasures. However, there is still no news. Father, why are you so sure that Yi Qinghan must still be in the Star Sea? I have checked the War God Pavilion's information on the ethereal continent. Yi Qinghan definitely didn't return to the ethereal continent. He also didn't appear in the other 5 continents. If he isn't in the Star Sea, then where is he?" Li Kong lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Then, a cold look shot out from his eyes. Even this can't force him out? This kid can really endure. Father, what should we do now? Could it be that forget it? Li Tian was silent and a little discouraged. Forget it? Li Kong laughed again. However, this time his smile was cold no matter how one looked at it. He looked at Li Tian and said, "You must remember, the Star Medallion should not be issued. Once it is issued, there must be an explanation. The destruction of Fiery Dragon City isn't considered an explanation. The sovereign once said that if we don't move, we must not move. If we move, we must go all out. The final outcome isn't important. However, we must make a stance to tell the world that the prestige of Supreme Island is not to be challenged." Li Tian hurriedly replied, "Yes. Li Tian has learned his lesson. Father, what should we do next? Isn't Yi Qinghan the overlord of the Fiery Dragon Plane? Go and arrange for some 7th grade war gods to tear through space and destroy the Fiery Dragon Continent. Remember to leave a few people alive, people who can pass the message." The smile on Li Kong's face became colder and colder. The entire room was filled with coldness. After a moment, he instructed, "Take note, this has to be done covertly. It's best to arrange for those who have enmity with Yi Qinghan to do it. Be clean and don't leave behind any evidence. The ethereal monarch and Diawu, that be asterisk Tisich, won't dare to move without evidence. I think Yi Qinghan, that bastard. Can you still tolerate the death of everyone in the plane? Yi Qinghan couldn't tolerate it. In fact, Yi Qinghan didn't even know what was happening outside. He had been in seclusion and his soul was in a silent state. If the Wind Emperor didn't wake him up, he wouldn't wake up at all. Over the past 3 years, another 3 groups of people had searched this place. However, they were all taken down by the Wind Emperor. After that, the 3 of them became Wu Shan's soul slaves. The Wind Emperor and the others were soul slaves and couldn't accept the soul fire of others, but Wu Shan could. Through these 3 people, Wu Shan and the Wind Emperor learned a lot of things. After Wu Shan knew that the fiery dragon city was destroyed, he almost roused Yi Qinghan. However, he was stopped by the Wind Emperor. The Wind Emperor was very clear that if Yi Qinghan woke up and knew about this, he would definitely go berserk. Once Yi Qinghan went berserk, they would all die. Therefore, the Wind Emperor guarded Yi Qinghan day and night, afraid that he would be startled awake. He hoped that Yi Qinghan would stay in seclusion for as long as possible. I've finally finished comprehending the 120 billion small spirit designs. I almost fainted. However, the Wind Emperor's wish was shattered. In the 4th year after Yi Qinghan's seclusion, he suddenly opened his eyes and laughed. He was extremely happy and relaxed. Congratulations, Master. The Wind Emperor bowed respectfully. However, his eyes flickered. He didn't know if he should tell Yi Qinghan about the fiery dragon city. There are so many messages? Yi Qinghan nodded slightly. Then, with a flip of his hand, a communication jade talisman appeared. There were many messages on it. Chapter 880. The messages came from 2 people. One was Su Longxiang, and the other was Little Firework. Su Longxiang's message was mainly about the situation in the Star Sea. For example, the search in the Star Sea had intensified recently. There was also another piece of news that he had found out. It vaguely pointed out that the Flame Dragon City incident was actually instigated by people from the Star Sea. The god bandits from the Blood Night Sea were currently at the satellite islets beside Paragon Island. Yi Qinghan was still a little confused after reading his message. But when he saw Little Firework's message, his face darkened. He started to emit a formless, murderous aura. Even the Wind Emperor felt a chill down his spine. After the Flame Dragon City incident, Lord Devour gave a gag order. Anyone who could contact Yi Qinghan could not send messages to him. But someone was worried about his safety and secretly sent a message to him. Firework. After Firework sent the message, Yi Qinghan did not reply. Firework became even more anxious and started to send messages to Yi Qinghan continuously. In the end, Firework told Yi Qinghan everything. After reading the message, Yi Qinghan closed his eyes. His body started to tremble. He clenched his fists tightly. His sharp nails pierced deep into his palms, tearing his skin and causing blood to flow. But Yi Qinghan did not care at all. 1 million people. More than 1 million people died. More than 100,000 Yi family soldiers. Many of them stayed willingly. They were all citizens of the Flame Dragon City. Many of them started to immigrate to the Flame Dragon City. But because of him, all of them died. This was a huge grudge. Yi Qinghan was a very reasonable person. I did something wrong, and you came at me. If you could kill me, that was your capability. I had no complaints, but you touched the people behind me. This touched Yi Qinghan's reverse scale. Yi Qinghan had never been so angry in his life. Li Kong had completely infuriated him this time. Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes, raised his head, and let out a long howl. His furious voice reverberated in the cave, causing the entire cave to tremble slightly. It also caused the souls of all the experts in the cave to tremble. Xiao! All of the soul slaves rushed towards the small hall. Wu Shan's face was filled with anxiety. When they rushed into the small hall, they realized that there were no enemies inside. When they looked at Yi Qinghan, they felt a deep chill in their souls. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's robe and hair were fluttering without any wind. His handsome face was filled with ferocity, and his eyes were bloodshot. Blue veins were bulging on the exposed skin on his face and hands. The invisible killing intent emitted from his body froze the air in the small hall. His entire person was like a devil god that had descended. It was so terrifying that it made people feel a chill in the depths of their souls. I, Yi Qinghan, swear to the divine Emperor Supreme today that if I don't take revenge for this, I'm willing to stay in the netherworld realm forever. If I don't make the starry sea pay 100-fold, I'm not a man. The chilling words were almost like a roar. At this moment, Yi Qinghan no longer looked like a person in the eyes of the crowd. Instead, he looked like a lone wolf in a hopeless situation. A lone wolf that was injured. A lone wolf whose hatred had ignited the deepest killing intent in his heart. Master, please calm down. City Lord, don't be rash. All of Wind Emperor Wu Shan's people knelt down at the same time and looked worriedly at Yi Qinghan. They were afraid that Yi Qinghan would rush out in a rage. He would be blinded by hatred and filled with rage. Like a moth flying into a flame, he would be smashed into pieces in the end. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything and closed his eyes once again. The endless murderous aura in his body also began to slowly retract. His body no longer trembled as fiercely as before, and the malevolent expression on his face gradually faded. He remained silent and just stood there for a long time. Get up! I'm not a fool to think that we can fight against the entire starry sea with just these few of us. A gentleman's revenge is a dish best served cold. Don't worry. Without absolute confidence, I won't make a move. But if I have absolute confidence, I will make the seawater of the entire starry sea redder by 100 times. Yi Qinghan left these words indifferently and disappeared on the spot. Only then did everyone heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, their respect for Yi Qinghan deepened. This had nothing to do with strength. It was just a pure feeling. Just a moment ago, everyone felt a sense of danger. Even Wind Emperor had an indescribable feeling when Yi Qinghan roared. He felt that Yi Qinghan could easily kill him. Although he did not understand where this feeling came from, he believed that this young divine king, who could always create miracles, might really cause a bloodbath in the starry sea one day. Yi Qinghan flashed into War Imperial Palace. Then he sat alone in the huge hall in a daze. He did not move at all. He just sat on a stone stool with his head buried in it. His hands were in his hair. He was in an indescribable state. There was guilt, there was sadness, there was anger. After sitting alone in the hall for 10 days and 10 nights, Yi Qinghan finally stood up. There was no expression on his face. There was only calmness. He spent 10 days and 10 nights suppressing all kinds of emotions in the deepest part of his heart. Revenge was a long and extremely dangerous road. He could not let his emotions affect his judgment. He had to calmly move forward step by step until the debt of blood was repaid, or perish. In the War Imperial Palace, Yi Qinghan opened the connection between himself and Carefree Pavilion and began to transmit his voice to Elder Lu. Elder Lu was the guardian of Carefree Pavilion. He could understand the matters of the Flame Dragon Continent through him. There was nothing going on in the Flame Dragon Continent. Yi Sahan and Peach Blossom were also very comfortable. However, the girls could not contact him and were slightly worried. Yi Qinghan transmitted his voice to Elder Lu and asked him to bring Yu Qingqing and the others to the Divine Realm to stay for a period of time. Yu Qingqing and the others arrived very quickly. Yi Qinghan instructed the Wind Emperor and the others not to reveal anything about the Flame Dragon City. He only said that he had been in seclusion for 4 years to comprehend the restrictions. As for Mo Xiaoxiao's departure, Yi Qinghan once again made up a white lie, saying that he had gone out to investigate the situation. Yu Qingqing and the others discovered that Yi Qinghan's condition was good. After staying in the War Imperial Palace for a month, they reluctantly returned to the Flame Dragon Continent under Yi Qinghan's request. After the 4 of them left, Yi Qinghan immediately entered the War Imperial Palace and went directly to the small hall where the secret manuals were stored. Looking at the books that were emitting a faint blue light, Yi Qinghan's heart was burning with passion. He slowly extended his hand, and the restrictions on the secret manuals were easily removed. The 4 books were taken by Yi Qinghan. There were 4 booklets, 2 brown and 2 golden. The secret manuals were taken, but Yi Qinghan discovered that he had been tricked by the War Emperor. Yi Qinghan casually opened the 2 brown secret manuals, but he couldn't open the other 2 golden ones. It was obvious that there was a restriction on the secret manuals. Without reaching a higher level of strength, he wouldn't be able to open them. Yi Qinghan embarrassedly put the 2 golden books back. He began to flip through the other 2 brown books. One was indeed a high-level restriction, and the other was a kind of secret skill, Battle Saint's secret skill. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.